Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome to the Spare Notes Series with your hosts, Matt Tabacco and William Cooper.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Spare Notes Series. We are finally back after, I believe it was a month away. We are live once again in the Drew Estate Cigar Studios in Boston, Massachusetts. First of all, I'm joined once again by my very good friend, Mr. William Cooper. But Coop, we have this. We're not alone tonight. This is special. This never happens on Spare Notes. Nicole is on Spare Notes with us. She says it's her first time.
The quality of the show just went up. The quality of the show just went up.
I don't think so, but
the real star is on.
Oh, man.
And everything. Absolutely. Welcome, Nicole. Really glad to have you.
thank you for having me, you guys.
Anytime.
It's been a month. You know, it's been a lot. You traveled, we traveled,
and I wasn't feeling well right before we had our show scheduled, and I had to pull out of the show last minute and take care of myself, obviously, because I knew I was traveling. But so I apologize to everyone for that. But I've learned to just put those things first when I'm not feeling well. So.
It's okay.
Yep.
You know, you texted me and I said no problem. It's you know it happens. I think before that I had a schedule conflict and then I forgot and then you had that. Then I forgot that because we were like, oh, we'll do it next weekend maybe if you were feeling better. But then we forgot you were going to Mexico and then you came back from Mexico and then I was like, oh, we're going to the DR.
Yeah.
So it was just like we just couldn't win.
Yeah, and you know, I actually was thinking about maybe doing it from Mexico, but the problem is I did not know what the internet situation was going to be like, and it turned out I wasn't in a place that had internet that night, so I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, the internet outside the country isn't always
Up to par.
No, as we find out.
Yeah, we've learned.
Yeah.
But you know, it happens. You know, we travel and we all made it back, and we're here, and now we get to talk about it, right? First of all, what are you smoking? And then we'll need Nicole. We'll get into what we have.
Yep. So I know we'll be talking about our travel. So I am smoking from Casa 1910, the Tierra Blanca. This was a cigar that was released at the trade show this year. This is their second Mexican Puro. So this one is much more of an aged Mexican Puro, and that the wrapper binder filler all aged 5 years. So it's part of their Revolutionary series. So I was going to smoke the new cigar that they're doing at a Dominican, but I think it may be entering that sick period right now because it was very freshly rolled. So I said, let me hold off on that, you know, for a little while. So I went with one of their. This is one of my favorite releases they came out with. So.
Yeah, they've had some good stuff. I mean, we had a couple of their other cigars when Manolo came on, and I had the whole lineup in front of me, and we went through some of those, and they were pretty good. I think that they definitely did better with a little bit more age. When I first had them last year, I was a little skeptical. They tasted a little young. But when I revisited them, they tasted a lot better. So I think their cigars have improved a little bit, and they're not bad. They're different. You know, it's a different kind of brand. It's Mexican Pros is not the most popular kind of cigar, as I'm sure you would agree. But I think it's been done before, right? A Mexican
Yes,
Puro.
I mean Tiamo did it.
It's
been done wrong before, and it's been done right before.
Yeah.
Times too.
So
yeah, I'll get into it a little more because it's a different. Like I said, it was a very different setting to go do a cigar event, so to speak.
Right. Look, I am gonna smoke. This was a gift from Mitchell San of the Smokin Tabacco team.
Shout out to Mitchell.
Or
Mitchell.
So I don't. He's probably gonna be mad if I say this. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, it's on the website, so I guess it really doesn't matter. But his name isn't Mitchell San. It's Mitchell Santaga. So when you see him on Facebook, it's confusing. 'Cause then you go to the website and you see like the stuff that he's published on the website. He's at the bottom. Mitchell Santaga has been smoking for whatever. So it's Mitchell Santaga. So shout out to Mitchell. I'm smoking the brand new Foundation Cigar Company. I'm gonna fuck the name up.
I'm gonna fuck it up worse. So that's what you asked me.
Is it the Sentinger? The Seninger?
The senator.
Senator. Okay.
Senator, not senator, but senator.
Right. There's a J in there.
Or senator, because you say it is
In Spanish, with the
I don't
J
know.
as an H. I don't know.
If someone wants to correct us, it's the King Tut cigar on the Highland Casa.
So that's what I'm smoking. Nicole, what are you smoking tonight?
So, from now to the end of the month, I'm trying to revisit all of our cigars that are contenders for Cigar of the Year. So tonight I'm smoking the Generoso from Ferio Tego, but just to have it fresh in my mind and
I have
all that fun
completed that
stuff.
exercise, Nicole.
Well, you're miles ahead of us, Coop. I'm laughing.
Well, I'm starting on Friday. That's why I got ahead of it this year, which was good. And of course, Matt, we're gonna be cutting and lighting tonight with Cigar Blondie.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. I'm so sorry.
Yep. So I'm gonna be using the cutter.
As always, our cutters and lighters have been provided to us by Cigar Blondie Accessories, featuring with their slim lighter with the signature blade flame, and their amazingly sharp and durable cutters. Find out more.
Love these accessories. I say it every week. This is a nice, durable. I really feel like
I have my
cut.
white ones.
Yep, and I got the black one with that fan flame.
I got the chrome. Mine's got all the fingerprints on it, though.
It's almost like Power Rangers, like with their rings.
Yeah.
We're just
It's
like
a little
Power
hard to
Rangers
I know.
unite,
with
like with our cutter and lighter. I don't know. Anyway,
But it's a soft enough jet flame, which why I think this really toasts the cigar well.
it
Which
is,
why I
but
liked it.
so I actually cheated today though on Cigar Blondie, and I love her stuff, and I've been very faithful since we've gotten these cutters and lighters. This is
Yeah.
all I use, but my husband bought me a DuPont for our wedding, and so I had been waiting because I wanted the matching cutter, and we got it from Jay from Blue Smoke of Dallas. Shout out.
Jay Davis.
But I haven't used it, and I know we've had it for weeks. So I was like, I should probably pull this out and use it.
which
now that I have my
which is
matching
only
set.
that was only part of her wedding present.
I got 3 lighters.
One of them's not here yet. We're still waiting. She finally got. She kind of found out about it. It got kind of fucked up, but she did find out about it, and she's getting a line too. So she's getting.
Oh wow!
A
She's-
girly line too.
She's getting.
Might I add.
She is getting a line too, as a wedding present from me. Just because it was one of those things that was the heat of the moment, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's do it." I'm getting married. I gotta go wild. But it's not here yet. I think it's a new model that's coming out, and I think
they
there's still.
have been experiencing some delays.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
ST
have.
DuPont.
They have. It's supply chain stuff they're getting hit with.
Yeah.
Mitchell, no, I did not get the $5 million El Septimo lighter.
Why didn't you get that one?
Why didn't Zai just send you one?
I know he should have just sent one over. I mean, if you didn't see our show this week, we had Zaya Yunan of El Septimo on the show this week. Very interesting show. It was a fun show. It was a great show. There was a lot of things he said on the show that I have since heard obviously a lot of feedback from, and there was a lot of things that people disagreed with. There's comments that people did agree with it. So, listen, if you have any questions, comments, concerns on that stuff, shoot us a message or comment along on tonight in the show. Maybe we can answer some of those things.
Absolutely.
I know now we have Coop here with us. I'm sure maybe Coop could maybe weigh in on some opinions too. So if there's any questions, comments, and concerns from our show on Thursday with Zaya, feel free to comment along with us tonight, or if you don't want to be public, you can shoot us a message, and we will we'll bring it up on the show.
Yep.
You can always email me, by the way. You can always email me, Matthew@smokintobacco.com.
We love fan mail and hate mail.
Everyone's
Bring
pretty.
it on.
Everyone's pretty much their first name at smokintobacco.com. Mitchell at smokintobacco.com. Nicole's at smokintobacco.com. Kevin's at smokintobacco.com. So yeah, I mean it's pretty easy to get a hold of us too. But also while you're at it, you go over to the website. Don't forget to sign up for our email newsletter, because that is not only going to get you nice updates on stuff going on in the industry, updates on who and when our shows are, or who's coming on, but also anytime we do giveaways. That's how we're going to really connect with people now, and all of our main updates for our Cigar Family charitable fundraiser that we do every year. Which we're getting towards the time where we might start announcing some stuff. That's going to be the biggest way to stay in touch. So head over to smokintobacco.com and sign up for our email newsletter right now. because if not, you're going to be missing out on a lot of good stuff and a lot of information. And then people are going to say, I didn't know about it. I'd be like, are you on the email list? Because it went out. So that's how you're going to get. That's how you're going to have to get it. So there's all the plugs and the ad reads for the beginning of the show. Now we can get into it. So Coop, who shall go first? First of all, let me ask you a question. Why are you wearing an LA Angels hat? You're a Phillies guy. Did I miss something?
I like the hat. I always liked the movie Angels in the Outfield, and that's why I got this hat years ago. I'm a huge fan of that movie. When I went out I was out in Anaheim in 2007. So, I just had it and I just put it on tonight. Support baseball in general. So, that's why I have it. It's something. I have a few other team hats that I wear sometimes. So. I actually do have a San Francisco Giants hat, but you won't see that on me
until Gabe Kapler leaves. The
until
team.
until he is on the door. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I don't even want to waste time with Gabe Kapler tonight.
No, we're not. That's,
we have too much to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say let's leave it up to Nicole. If she needs a little more time, I can go first. Otherwise, you can go first. I'm totally fine with that.
No, I'm good at this point. It'll take me a minute to make sure that everything I bring up on screen is smooth, but
okay.
Just because I don't typically bring it up, during the podcast, I'm sort of doing it more on the fly, but yeah, whatever works. I don't care.
All right. Well, I know a lot of people showed up to the show on Thursday thinking that we were going to get into the trip, and I think some people were disappointed because I saw people drop out.
I know
that were commenting along, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. When we were like, we're not talking about it tonight, and then I didn't see them again. And I've had people who have been messaging me saying that they can't wait for tonight because they can't wait to hear about stuff. So
sure, so let's do it. Like I said, and then I'll have plenty of time to talk about. Like a lot of my stuff's already been published, so that's
we
why
haven't really. Yeah, we've been pretty.
As much as you love teasers, I'm not a teaser fan. Let's give the people that.
We haven't really published a lot of our stuff yet, and it's because I want to do it in the right way. But
I was going to give you so much grief, both of you, because the first day you put up the airport post, right? I'm flying. I'm like, and then there's nothing. There's like silence, and I'm like, there they go. But I knew there was. Then you and I messaged each other. And there were some reasons why you held off, so I totally understood that. So.
Well, I was sitting on the plane. It was funny because I saw it was a William Cooper, and I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. And it was like, no photo, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I took a picture out the window of like the wing at the terminal, and I'm like, there you go, there's your fucking photo.
There was no airport selfie. There's three parts to this that the cigar industry does. They take a picture. They do that Facebook thing of you're going here. They take a picture of the airplane at the gate. And then they do the selfie, right? But then when they go somewhere, they don't do anything. Like, they don't talk about any place they're going, right? They don't talk about anything. Maybe you get a tablecloth with an event, a box is on it for an event. And I just said this, and the reason I was given from one person is they said, well, we don't talk about where we're going because we don't want retailers to know that we're in town. And we may not be going to that shop. I said, but you're putting the post up where you're going. So I don't understand the logic there. I was told it. Yep, that's what I was told. I'm like, okay.
That makes sense.
That's where this whole thing started with me, like 6 or 7 years ago when I heard that, when I was given that answer.
I know you're all over it, man. When it comes to Coop's like the social media cigar police. He really is. Like you got people like Alan and all these other people who are Facebook trolls, and then you got the people who are on there who are just doing their thing and they're just trying to have a good time, and then you got people on there like Coop who are like, hey, you didn't post a photo on the and it's like, okay, like, is there a rule? Like, am I gonna go to Facebook jail because I didn't post a photo with my status update? Like, it's very interesting.
I had to get it in there, but then I was like, I was gonna give you more crap. Well, where are the pictures? Like from where you are, but then there was a good reason, and I understood that. So that was, and then you did get some stuff out there. So,
and we are gonna share what we have. For those who don't know, Nicole and I went to we were in the Dominican Republic last week, and we visited a factory. We visited a farm. We visited several other things.
We got to attend a party.
We got to attend a party. We got to see a school that is fucking amazing. And obviously, I mean, I can't say enough about it because it was spectacular. But we went and experienced the Magic of Fuente.
Yes.
It was very special for us. We got to go and see the factory and you know, it was.
We saw everything.
The interesting thing though about it was, you know, it was our first like real factory farm experience, you know. So it was interesting because it was the first time we went to like, you know, the DR and to like the real factories and like, you know, where things are going on, and you know, we got to just, you know, fully experience the entire process. That, you know, yeah, we've read about it, we've heard about it, we've interviewed people about it, we've seen pictures online, but like until you go and you're there and you actually get to like, you know, experience it firsthand, like, and you can absorb it directly. I mean, it changes a lot for you because you just have such, not only do you have a better understanding of just how this whole process works, but you have a newfound respect for everyone that's involved. And I don't mean like just the rollers in the factory. Of course, first of all, they're like one of the biggest because they're the people who are putting in so much work every day. But it's like you finally understand like what those people go through, what the farming people go through, what, you know, the other people in the factory who don't roll cigars, but they do all the other stuff. We got to see the box manufacturing. They have their own box plant across the street from plant 1. There's 6 plants at Arturo Fuente in the DR in Santiago. Plant 1 is the main factory, the one that you've probably all seen photos of before. It's in almost like an industrial complex. So then like across the street there's a box factory, and that's where they make all the boxes. They make all their own molds there. They have their own machines that I believe it's like a CNC machine that like I think it's like a water jet or something that drills it out of like plastic, you know,
the molds.
slabs. They make the molds.
Have a machine to make molds, yeah.
Now, Coop, you've also been down and seen a lot of this stuff as well, so I know you can comment on this too because you've also been there.
And I can also share some videos of that after as well.
Yeah. Now, let me just set the context for some folks. I actually got to do a similar thing back in February. So, you know, I went down there too. Now, Fuente typically has not been open to the public that much. They have done the CFCF tour with Chateau de la Fuente on Pro Cigar. As far as the factory tour, that's been very limited, although this year was the first year they opened it up to Pro Cigar. So not a lot of people have been to the factory. They've been much more closed off on this. And in both of these cases, it's not like you could just go on vacation to the Dominican Republic and say, hey, I want to go on one of these tours. The only way really to do it is Pro Cigar, or if you're kind of in the industry. It's not set up to do that. And that's the case with most factory farm tours, by the way.
Yeah.
So this is, like I said, this is kind of a unique thing that happened. I'll also add on top of that is you went on one of the best factory tours, and it was a great thing. And it's not it's different than all the other ones.
Right.
And the other ones are very good too. So I don't want, but this one, as people are going to see, I just say it's the closest thing to walking through Willy Wonka's factory that you're going to have. That's not the norm.
If you've ever been to any other cigar factory, if you've never been to a cigar factory, you can imagine this too. But if you've been to any other cigar factory, the way I can explain it was if you're over the age of, like, Coop, I don't know what, 40, and you've seen not the Johnny Depp version, the Gene Wilder version.
The Gene Wilder, Jack Albertson version, yeah.
Yes. And it's like when the gate opens and they go in and he pops out and then he like starts singing the song about "Come With Me and You'll See." That is literally what it felt like. I mean, you're like, holy shit.
And Carlito is the king of Easter eggs. They pretty much live and breathe their family tradition. That is not a lie. And in all of the decor,
Pay attention
There,
if you ever get to go.
around is, we will never rush the hands of time, and it's all plastered over, even in like the door frames, like all of these little details.
Yeah, and I know you'll probably show it when you get in there. It's everything that reflects his family heritage and history. Yeah, and it's all reflected in this factory.
And all of the properties, actually.
But like I said, he didn't build this to be an experiential center. That's the thing I'm trying to make it out to be like, this is not something like they're playing, hey, you're going to be able to go to Fuente World. Like, it's not, that's not what this is. This is the operations, and they integrate this culture into everything, all their processes in the factory too. So,
I think Coop makes a good point. The one thing about the factory is he didn't, and even Chateau de la Fuente, he didn't build it to be like, Busch Gardens or like, or Hershey World.
You'll look at that, and you'll see these pictures, and you're going to think that.
He built it. He really, and what you'll see in the detail, and there's literally a meaning behind everything. Like literally everything you see. If there's like for example at the chateau, when you first come in, there's like an old well, and he said that's my wishing well. I always wanted a wishing well. And then there's a story behind it. There's a story behind every little thing that's there. And the reason why he did it wasn't to be showy, because they don't let a lot of people go there. But he built it as a tribute to his heritage, to his culture, to his family. When I tell you it wasn't even about the cigars anymore. It was basically seeing someone's like three-dimensional like scrapbook of their family. Yeah, that's really how the only way to describe it.
Absolutely. And what he did though is he has preserved his family's legacy in this edifice that he's built. So he is, his family's his story is told in the production facility that he has.
But it's also not just the family legacy, right? Because it's the culture he has built for all of his employees. He was saying during the boom, previously, people would poach cigar rollers. So his mentality is, well, what could I do for my employees to make them not want to leave? So part of it is a lot of the decor around the factory and things like that. It's literally made to not look like a factory, so that they don't feel like they're working in a factory. That's why they play loud music, and and it's clean. It's a great experience for them.
For me, it's funny, Nicole, you bring that up. One of the coolest things when we first went to the factory. So when you go into plant 1, you'll go into a door, and you'll get into like this real. It's like almost like a lobby.
And there's 5 plants, just so people know.
There's 6.
There's 6.
There's 6 plants.
So they have 6 plants. We only got to tour one of them,
which was plant 1.
Right. But all 6 are huge.
So you walk in. There's like a lobby area, and there's like a little I don't think it's operational, but it's like I think Ciro said the boxes were empty, but there's like a little store display, but it's, and I think they built it so that someday, if it's public, they can operate out of it. But you'll see that there's a bunch of other photos and mementos. You walk through a set of doors, and then you're in another little area, and there's a bar to the left, and there's some tables, and there's a picture of Carlito, Don Carlos, and there's another set of doors, and the other side of the doors is the cathedral part of plant 1, that big room that you've seen with the balcony. Now, when we first walk in there, before we go into the factory, we're like kind of waiting to go in, and I turned and looked at Nicole, and all I could hear was the Cuban music playing from the other side of the door, all through the factory. And I just looked at her and I was like, there's a vibe here, and this is it. I hear the music going, this is it. This is so cool. And so it is. It's a fun atmosphere, and that's true. They're in a good mood. They're happy. They get their music. There's an employee entrance that they have, and there's it's like a red carpet.
Yep. You walk in
exactly. Coop, you've seen it, and they said we want our employees to feel important when they come to work. We want them to feel special when they come to work. They don't want to leave at the end of the day. They like to be here, and it's a theme that we continue to see from the people in the factory to the people at the farm to the kids at the school. Everywhere we went, it's they never want to leave. They're so happy to be here. They're so fortunate. And it was you think about it and you're wow, you're in a country that, you know, the truth is people don't have a lot, and you know, it's not like here, and people don't have a lot, and you know, their lives are, you know, they work for every little thing they have, but they're also so happy, and they come to work and they're happy. They don't like, oh, I'm so poor, like I gotta be here. Like, no, they want to be there though. You know what I mean? They don't have the attitude like, oh, I'm here because like I'm broke. Like they want to be there. You know, and you come back home and you see people and you're like, people got way more here and they're so fucking miserable. And it's just like, it really like, it changes your perception. You're like,
Yeah.
you know, people down here, like they have nothing and they're happy. You know, and it's just, it really makes you think a lot about a lot of things. It really does.
It definitely does.
So that was one of the biggest things I took away just as a whole, like just on a.
The other thing too is that their motto as a company is Somos Fuente, which is we are Fuente.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were very fortunate. We actually were able to attend their holiday party that they threw for their cigar rollers. So they rented out an arena, and they essentially had open bar for their cigar rollers, and they had hired some of the most famous Dominican bands. And so we got to attend this party, which was really cool because I don't think they've ever had like other guests at their party before. And so they were giving them plaques and awards for people who had been there 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And there were dozens of people with awards, and that was wonderful. But then they were also just giving out bonuses. They were having like a little game. They gave out like $500, $1,000 bonuses, TVs, refrigerators, just like all sorts of things to their employees. And that was, you know, these employees were just so happy.
Yeah,
can't say that enough.
That was the biggest thing for me. It's just how happy the people were.
Yeah, it's a the environment's unbelievable that you'll see. Like I said, I was at that entrance with the red carpet, and Carlito's explaining it, and I'm seeing some of the people coming in from lunch break, going in there. It was really, yeah. I mean, like I said, and not to say that other factories don't have very happy employees, because they do. I mean, I can say the Perdomo people, they were really just wonderful people. I mean, really, most of these factories, they do treat the workers very well. So
yeah,
I can't say that for every factory, but I mean, most of the ones that I've went to, you can see it, and it's not just an act. You can feel the vibe, you know.
I feel like it's the best way to describe it is there's a cultural difference between the way that people live and work and feel about their lifestyle there versus the way people live, work, and feel about their lifestyle here. And it's culturally, it's a culture thing. It really is. It's very different.
Yep.
So. No, sorry. I was gonna try to upload one of the videos in.
Do you want to add this file as an animated overlay, or do I include audio?
Yeah, because we don't want audio. I don't know if I can make that bigger. Boom. So this is one of the reels that I had made. So this is a small video, but that's that entryway with the store to the factory.
Yep.
And then this is the main cigar rolling room floor when you walk in with the fountain.
This place, this is, like I said, it's not the only rolling room, but this is what the main one.
Yes.
Did he tell you what they roll there? Because this is what was the most interesting thing.
He did.
Wait,
Do you want to tell?
Wait, hold on. Wait, say that again. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to fix something.
He asked if he had said if Carlito had told us what was rolled in this specific room, in the main room, which he did.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, Coop, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the special stuff.
Nope.
Not the special. It's not the Opus X, the limited stuff. This is the everyday stuff they roll here.
858.
Yep.
858. Yeah. So I mean,
Chateau Fuentes.
And and this is kind of the centerpiece of the factory, but he wanted it like that.
I'm gonna play it again.
He wanted that centerpiece to, for that type of production. It would have been very sexy if he put. And I know you're gonna talk about where the Opus X stuff's rolled in a bit, but I think it was a very strong statement that he makes. I was like smiling when he told me that, because me being like enough limited stuff already, I just was really, I think it sets a positive mood that in the best area of the factory, you're rolling your everyday stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about limiteds on this show, especially, right? And we talk. I mean, and Fuente's no exception. I mean,
They're the king of limited. They're the king of small batch.
Anytime you say Opus X, I mean, limited, hard to get, expensive, whatever. That's where your mind goes. But the thing you gotta remember is, that company wasn't built on Opus X. I mean, in fact, Opus X is not what really pays the bills for them. It's 858. It's Chateau Fuente, Double Chateau. It's Hemingway. It's bestseller. Work of art.
Even Curly Head, yeah.
Even Curly Head they use. It's it's short story. That's where they make their money. You know what I mean? That's their bread and butter. That's what keeps the lights on. That's what pays for it. So of course, when you go to a place like that, it's as cool as the cool and special stuff is to see. And of course, I'm not discounting that at all. What's awesome is to see them, making like the bread and butter, 858. You know what I mean? Like you just see them, and it's like, wow. I'm like, there it is. There it is. They're rolling it right there, and they're having a good time doing it, and you get to go through and you get to see the tobacco being sorted. You get to see the people rolling it, and then you get to see people, sorting. You see people sorting the colors so they can put them into boxes and ban them, and it's just like, the whole thing from beginning to end. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I did just throw up a little loop of this is in the box making factory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so anytime you've ever bought any kind of box from them, it's made there. So even the fancy boxes, the old school Cuban style boxes with the edging and the flip top, like that's all made there. They all make it all in house.
They stain it, they print it.
They're
doing the hardware on the boxes, everything.
Right.
They're like tacking it on by hand. They're putting the hinges on the box. I mean, they do it right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a large box factory, is what I'll just tell you. I've seen probably the only other one I could see that was comparable to that size was General Cigars one, which has a very big one as well. But, I mean, that's like I said, a lot of factories. Perdomo has a pretty big one, too. And that's in Nicaragua. But I'd say General and Fuente are probably a little bigger. I mean, it's a full, they don't have to, they're not dependent on a lot of outside people to do that stuff for them.
Jay actually brought up a good point, and I should have said this too, and because I did ask this question. The 20th anniversary and the Forbidden and the Dubai, the more ornate ones that you've probably seen, those are not made there. Although...
Oh, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that.
No,
so,
those are not made there.
Yeah.
Although I believe when I asked Ciro, they're assembled there. I think the pieces are made elsewhere, like in China or somewhere. But I'm almost pretty sure he said that they assemble the boxes there.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I thought that's what he said. Maybe Jay knows the specific on that one.
And this is one of the storage areas from the box factory specifically. So these are not cigars ready to go out. They're just the boxes sitting there. But look how clean and organized.
Yeah.
You'll notice
to the T.
when you notice like on the floor where all the pallets sit, there's a yellow outline. Like they even have it so it's like you put the boxes in the yellow line. You don't put them outside the yellow line. I mean, everything is so organized and clean, which is just like, and it's not even just there. Like everywhere you went, like everything was so clean and organized, and like
even the tobacco. And hold on,
you don't see that anywhere. Like forget about cigars for a minute. Like if you've ever been in any kind of warehouse or any kind of factory or any kind of like industrial area, it's never that clean. Like nowhere. I don't care where you go. I've never seen that anywhere.
I'll tell you, it's a very clean factory. Perdomo's is very clean, and my father are very clean. I would say they're pretty close to, if not at that level, but and most of them aren't terrible either, I want to say.
No.
And we were able to go also to another facility which housed all of their tobacco.
Yeah.
And there was how many
so
buildings?
Much fun.
Oh yeah, but again, look how organized. I mean, this is just one of multiple warehouses.
Right. There's a lot of tobacco in here, guys.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of that's all Piloto Cubano.
Did you smoke? I know. I was busting on Jose about that. Did you smoke when you were walking on the tour or no?
Yeah,
we did.
I did. Yeah.
Because I was nervous about it, right? Because it was so clean and there's no ashtrays like around, you know.
Yeah, there is.
They're built into the wall.
You didn't see that? They have little
No.
wooden ashtrays that are like built into the
Yes.
wall,
No,
like everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they're easy to miss, but they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every
I kept
5
putting it
feet,
in the
there's a
garbage
wooden.
bin.
There's like a
I did
wooden
not do that. There
ashtray.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Most of the factory stores, you have nowhere to put your ashes.
Now,
And I just was putting in the garbage cans every time I saw it.
actually, what is this video? So I have just a couple more to share from the factory, and we have more that we're going to be putting in a write-up. I film so much. Part of it through the factory, though, especially with the rolling. There are certain things that we, one, weren't allowed to film. But
Yes.
two, there's 3,000 cigar rollers, granted not all in that one building. I didn't want to be rude and also just stick a camera in everyone's face. I don't speak Spanish to even explain that. So for me personally, I think a little bit more hesitant because I know if I was working, I wouldn't want a camera stuck in my face. So.
No. Some of them are pretty cool. Like, hey, you can take a picture. And I usually ask if I take a picture of a person before I snap the camera on that.
So we tried to just take more general
Oh, these
things.
things, the wheels, I always love seeing these.
Yes, these are the wheels.
That's rehydrating the tobacco.
Yep. Sorry. I'm just putting
Look at
that
the
on here.
floor there. The, like, tile.
It's all Cuban themed. The whole
Yeah.
the whole facility.
There's a lot of Cuban tile, and if you don't know what Cuban tile is,
Yeah.
and Coop, I know you know what it is, but
Yeah.
it's that old school of like all the broken tiles of all different colors, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
all like mosaically put together. There's a lot of that
Everywhere.
broken
Yep.
tile look everywhere,
Yep.
which
Yep.
again was done purposely as like an homage to like when they were younger and they didn't have anything and they didn't have money and that's what they could afford was just scrap tile that they could put together, and it's honestly it's. I know that was once upon a time, like, and maybe
These
for
are
some people it still is, like, it's like, oh, like, that's just like that's what we do. But, like, it's turned into, like, artwork now. Like, you see that and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, it's beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. And it's everywhere. And it's just, it's really cool to see.
Now this picture with all the barrels. So this is one of their. It's one of the aging rooms, right? So, or not?
Yes, that is Opus X tobacco.
Yes.
That's being barrel aged. Coop, did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Which and I
Did you see the area? Did you see the area where the barrels are kind of? They're on the
Ferris wheel?
On the Ferris wheel, yeah.
Yeah, we did. I think
Yep.
she has a photo of that.
Yeah.
I don't have those ones available right now, but yes, we do have of most things. And now this is going to be my favorite, like little snippet from the factory. Give me just a moment. Oh, and one more. Hold on. Actually, so this one I'm going to throw a picture up super quick. If I can. Let's see here. There we go. So that's me and Matthew in the so that building is one of their tobacco warehouses.
Yep.
So that whole complex is comprised. It almost feels like, I don't know, like Beverly Hills, like going through a movie. Like
It
going
looked
through
like a movie set. It really looked
Yeah.
like a movie set. Look at the way the trees are lined up there. And some of the factories in the free trade zone area have some nice exteriors. So, but yeah, that one it kind of reminded me of a Hollywood movie set with those trees.
Now this one is what I'm sure a lot of people will love to see, which is their Opus X aging room. And this is where all the Opus is aged. Most of it.
Yep,
I think
those-
there's multiple rooms actually now that I'm thinking about it. But they have an Opus X like overlay in the floor, and all of these cabinets have cigars in them.
Full.
Yep.
They're full.
Full to the
Full.
brim.
And there's multiple like little hallways there. This is
Look
where
at that
all
floor
the
though,
Opus.
the little thing on the floor. That little thing, on, the lighted, whatever.
Yeah,
It,
I saw that too. That was interesting. Like,
They had a
the-
lot of lighted signs throughout their factory. Actually, most of the ones that you can buy through the
Yeah.
Fuente website, they actually have them in the factory
Yeah.
on the walls. And
but that's a great view of the tile that Matt was talking about earlier on.
Yep. Yeah, so those are all cabinet doors open, and then all the cigars are in like wooden crates, and they're all labeled. Like They're all stacked nice and neat. They all have a tag that says, what it is, what the tobacco is, how long it's been in there, when it was rolled. Like it's very organized. Very organized.
Yeah, and this is where you got to really give a lot of credit to Ciro Cascala. He's the guy who he is Carlito's the right hand of Carlito, but he runs a lot of the day-to-day of that factory, and the processes he's put in place in there is incredible. I mean, it's one of again, I would probably say Perdomo is the other one out of Nicaragua where I see the processes are tightly integrated and they're well defined.
Oh yeah.
Again, certain factories are looser, is what I'm saying. Not to say they're bad, but I'm just saying these are very, very tightly integrated. They can find out anything going on in any part of the factory at any time.
And couple comments here. So Gracie said, "And just aging." I'm assuming, Grace, you're meaning just that one room. Yeah, all of those cigars are just simply aging. They have,
and they have
a lot of opus. It feels like there's not a lot out in the world, but that's because they want it to be so perfectly aged before it goes out.
Yep.
And there's a how many aging rooms in total? Because they have all the aging rooms for like Hemingway and everything, Magnum R, Casa Cuba. I mean, I think there's like. Is there 14, 15 aging rooms in the factory? Something like that? I can't remember.
I think because they have them speckled throughout, and I know he had made he actually has other aging rooms that they're not even using yet.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah,
that are not in use as of yet, but they're like prepared and ready to go.
There was a lot. Certainly, they have room to grow. Is what I can say too. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, you go ahead, Coop.
I was going to say with aging, people not realize there's really 4 types of aging that goes on, and maybe more, but there's the curing of the tobacco that goes on in the barn. There is the fermentation on the pilones. Then there's the actual aging of the bales, and then there's the aging of the cigars rolled. So, I mean, there's a lot of aging, and these things, we need a lot of space to do all this stuff.
That's true. Space is key, and, even it looks so big. When you see all this too, and even if when you're there in person, but it's like you'll be there and you'll be like, wow, there's so much space here, and it's still not enough. Like if they could have even more, they would. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everything's like to the max. As big as it is, everything's to the max.
Space at some point. Yeah.
So where do you want me to go next with pictures? So we can do.
Let's talk about the school.
Let's talk about the school. Okay, so the school definitely was, I think, my favorite part of the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids.
Charlie Minato had told me this before I went on. He said, "This is going to be. It's going to. If you don't enjoy that experience at the school, basically his words to me is something's wrong with you." Is what this is coming from Charlie, right? So he was telling, because I had met Charlie when I was on the factory tour, and I was going the next day to the school. But this is just a magical place.
Totally magical, and I just put on screen, so I had taken some just following shots as we were walking through.
It's Carlito.
We had, I think, a total of 4, or was it 5 musical performances that the students did for us. Look at that. They even have solar panels there at the school, which is wild. And, obviously we do the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation fundraiser with Smokin Tabacco, but the money 100% goes here. This is where it's going.
Yep.
And,
they're so fortunate to have so much.
And that's why when we do that too, it's not even just about how much we raise. I mean, obviously we want to raise as much as we can, because the more we raise and we donate for them together as a group, it's the more that they can use to keep improving on what they have and keep funding the supplies. I mean, this is where it goes, guys. I mean, it's the real deal. This isn't, one of those charities where they skim it off the top and they give the kids enough. No, it all goes there. The Fuentes and the Newmans pay all the executive costs for it too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's and the other thing that's interesting about this, and Coop, I know you know this too, and maybe you can speak to it. The thing about the school is the name Newman isn't there, the name Fuente isn't there, with the exception of the name Cigar Family. There's nothing cigar related there.
You're not smoking cigars there. You're not going there, and you're not
smoking there.
You're not going to see a cigar there. Yeah.
You're not going to see a cigar there. You're not going to see the Newman name, the Fuente name. It's not even. It has nothing to do with either of the companies either. It's its own entity. It's a 501c charitable corporation. It's its own entity. It's not about them. It's about the kids. It's about the community. It's about the family. It really is. And so, if you've been a part of our fundraisers before for this, thank you so much. It means so much to us.
This is what it goes to. Yeah.
If you haven't been a part of it, you're getting a look here. Like, this is what it is. I mean, like these kids. I mean, it'll make you cry when you go. It really will. It really will.
Here's a joy you'll have too. Is what you'll have. It's not it's not a depressing thing.
It's a happy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure Carlito told you the history of that area, and this is about an hour outside of Santiago. This was an impoverished, dangerous area.
It's in a region of the Dominican called Banao.
Yeah.
And there were 2 feuding villages, and
kids used to bring knives to school.
Yeah,
because there was kids from another village, and it was like they would try to stab each other. Like it was bad. It was so bad.
Absolutely. It was these, and I know you could probably get into more about what they come out of this school. There was just I tell you, it was, and Carlito, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's real when he's there. Because he gets choked up every time he's there. I can tell you that.
The other thing about him too is, he'll talk about cigars. He'll talk about the company, and and obviously this history there. They're very proud of what they've built. But most of what he talks about that really makes him like emotional, what makes him proud, what makes him happy. It's this. This is what he cares about. I mean, he even told us that they do a lot of projects with like other companies like Hublot and Stefano Ricci, and he said a lot of that stuff too. Like he goes into it saying like, okay, I'll do this collaboration, but like the biggest thing I want out of this is I want it to somehow benefit the kids in the school.
Yep.
Which I thought was really important, really kind of special. It's always, I always find a way, whatever I do, to always benefit the school and everything we do, and I think that's great.
Well, I stepped up some things to contribute this year, and a lot of it came out of my visit. I'm like, I just saw what this is all going for, and I had some very interesting. I mean, I'll just share one quick story. On the school part, there was a teacher who got a Microsoft certification.
Yes, we met her.
When I was a technical person way back and got mine, that is a very, very hard thing to achieve. A Microsoft certificate it's not a gimme, okay? And I just was like blown away to see this young woman. And I don't think Carlito maybe understood that just because he doesn't come from that world. And I was like, Carlito, this is a big, big deal. This is like, in the technology field, getting your Microsoft certification is one of the biggest things you can get. I mean, today I couldn't even do it because I don't do technical stuff anymore. But I was so blown away by that.
And I believe they're the only accredited Microsoft school. Like she's the only one who's certified in the Dominican to reteach that certification.
She's the only one.
Yeah.
Which is crazy too. But
Yep.
But yeah, no. Gracie had asked, how old is it? How long has it been in operation? Gracie, it's been going on since 2001, so it's been 21 years. And they're expanding. And so we actually were witnessing while we were there, they are building a performing arts center. And they want to, start going into radio broadcasting and things like that, and, fund for, the arts as well. So they're building a brand new building. And it was just, they're pouring the cement really, that's the stage that they're at. But, and then I believe a company approached them about expanding to a hospitality school potentially as well. So
yeah. I mean,
so they still have plans to grow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just keep building.
Your money, more. If you're contributing to that, whether through the fundraiser, the Toast Across America or whatever, I'm telling you, it's money that you really, charity money you don't have to really worry about.
And what we
It's just-
also didn't mention is the health center that is there, the health facility. So they
Wow.
also
Very impressive for
have
that
a
area.
health facility, on premises there, but it's not just for the students. It is for the surrounding villages.
Yep.
They can draw blood. They have an x-ray machine. They do dentist work. And they have doctors that come back and donate their time. And one of them we met was a previous graduate of the
I met-
school. You met
Yep.
him
Yep.
too.
Yep.
But that facility, for where it is, that helps so many people.
And we actually
as
got
well.
to see it too. Like, they brought us into the storage rooms and they
Yep.
showed us all the like prescriptions
the
and
equipment.
and the
Yep.
equipment and like all the vials of like, vaccines and stuff that they have. Like they have like all of the medical supplies, to help people.
Yep.
If it's sickness and disease or injury, like they have it. I
And
mean,
just on that note, one more thing, and we kind of moved on from the factory, but what I didn't realize, just to mention, they have a credit union in their factory for their employees, and they have a
Yes.
healthcare
Yeah, yeah,
facility
but-
in
but-
the factory for their employees.
Yeah.
And that to me was mind blowing.
And,
too.
and one of the reasons why they have that is because it was a way to get them to not, people need to borrow money for stuff. They
buy a
didn't-
house.
They
to buy a
didn't. They
car.
didn't. They were like, well, instead of having them go to like these loan sharks, and these shady people, we'll let them
Yep.
come to us. Let us, we have our own credit union where they can borrow money in a safe way, pay less interest on it, and not be in physical danger if they can't pay it back or something they can figure it out. I tell you, that's impressive too. I mean, your company has
Yeah.
its own credit union for your employees. Like it's all internal. It's all internal.
Yep. Was that was right near the cafeteria? I'm trying to remember.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
it
Yeah,
was.
Yeah, that's where.
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to remember where it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But yeah, sorry, it's just on a tangent. There's so
No, it's a good- it's-
there's
no,
so
it's
much.
important.
but but that school, amazing. The kids, it just I can't say enough about that. And they were all so sweet, and they love getting their picture taken. They want to
Yep.
follow you around for the picture and see themselves in the camera.
I had that. So she had the video camera, and I had the photo camera, and I was taking photos, and like they'd all run up to me, and photo, and I'd say okay, and I'd take their photo, and as I take a photo, like more kids are coming, and I had to stop, take another photo, and then they all come to you, and they surround you, and they want to they're like let me see, and you show them the photo, and they all go, oh, and they get so excited. And then like another one, they're like, yeah. And you take another photo, and then they look at it and they're like, oh, look, and they're all like, and they're just like they're so excited just to see their photo.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Now just to segue as well, so that is its own 30-acre complex, I believe. That is directly next to the farms.
So, well, there's multiple farms. They have farms in Santiago, but the farm that everyone knows is Chateau de la Fuente, which, is the one that people know the most. Obviously, the one that they've probably seen. It's right up the road. So it's all like together. So when you go to the school, you pass by the Chateau de la Fuente, and you keep going, and then you get to the school. So it's all right there. Now,
Yeah.
like Carlito explained, that land, it's not all attached. It is its own separate entity. It has nothing to do with Arturo Fuente and the business and anything like that. Or even anything to do with Newman. It's its own separate, isolated entity.
Yep.
And it operates as such.
Yep.
Which I think is important to note. It's 100% on its own.
But the
Yep.
farm has, or they have many different parts to it. So up on screen right now is, and it might not be the best video, but it's lagging for some reason. But this is the tobacco in the fields. Now, we didn't get an opportunity to walk through it, but I was able to take some video coverage of where they are growing.
Yeah.
That's
and
this
where they
year's
are in
crop.
the season. Yep.
Yeah, they normally don't walk anyone through the fields there.
Which is fair.
Although this time of I mean there's a lot of reasons for that. They're very protective of the tobacco, but honestly, at this point of the year, it's everything's just sprouting right now. So,
Yep.
and that will be full blown tobacco by January.
Yep.
Yeah, it grows
By
very
the end of
quickly.
January.
That's
It
one thing I
grows
don't think people
quickly.
realize. Like they plant it, probably plant it what, like beginning of November, maybe end of October. After a month you're here, but then like in another 2 months, I mean, those plants are, they're coming out of
Yep.
the ground. It goes quick.
Yep.
It goes quick. A lot has to do with the rainy season when it starts and all that too.
Which is something to mention. Was it last year he was telling us about the crop with ice or with frost?
Yes.
They got
had,
frost.
They had an ice storm. Very rare.
Yes.
And what happened
because because it is elevated. It is more elevated in where you are here.
And what's interesting is, you see all the cheesecloth.
Right there at the top.
And what happened at the time, the plant, it happened towards the end when the plants were already fully grown. And it came down, and some of it broke through the cheesecloth, and it broke the plants. And
it broke
hit the
these
leaves.
wooden structures, and this cheesecloth essentially fell on the plants.
Yeah, and then some of it, the cheesecloth didn't break, but the weight, it all came in and collapsed on top of the plants. So they lost a lot. I think he said they lost a third of the crop.
They did.
Yep.
So they, which again, this is what happens in any kind of agriculture. You have nature against you. I mean, these things happen.
Which is why they don't grow when they wait till the end of the hurricane season. But sometimes odd things happen, and there's a December storm that will come through, or your tropical system that comes through. It does happen from time to time, or a freak of nature thing like the ice storm. So yeah, these things are not meant to be hurricane or storm proof by any means.
No, but what ended up happening with that is he did try to save as much as he could. So this is just a picture right here. And he actually pulled that crop out. So they still took it. And we don't have a ton of pictures from this area because it was towards the end of the day and our cameras died. But this is, where is it? This is the...
That's at Chateau de la Fuente.
Yeah, this is at Chateau de la Fuente. And this is where they store a lot of the tobacco. And they can't use all parts of this leaf from this crop because obviously, there was frost on it. But he wants to do something special, so he's trying to see where, what happens to it, after it sits for so time. And when he opened this box, it smelled like raisins. It was a sickly, sweet, hit you in the
tobacco
face.
smell, yeah.
And I think, whatever he does with this is going to be very special. That is a very sweet.
Yep.
And it will be limited, but
yeah.
Go ahead, Coop.
Cool. That is really cool. You saw that.
Yeah. He opened tons of boxes for us just to see. We were being nosy, of course, but yeah, no, that was really cool with that. And let me just pull up a couple more pictures here. So, obviously, there's also the area that a lot of people know with all the painted rocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
As part of the chateau. So let me see what I have here. I don't know what to call it. What do they call it? I just named it the rock farm. But
Now, this is something you just won't see at any farm.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just telling this is so, it looks almost like a golf course when you go into the distance there. But this is something you just won't, and again, this is not for they do the Pro Cigar Tours, but it's not an experiential center that tends to work all year round. They bring in special guests from time to time, but that's it.
Yeah, so what you're looking at is just one photo from this area. And they have a lot of painted rocks. So they have the A Fuente letters in the background. They have a lot of flags.
Do you have a video from the other direction?
Yes, I do. But if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, they repaint them. I think he said every year they hand paint all the rocks one by one to keep it that vibrant color. There's meaning behind everything that's there too. So I think Nicole has video from the other stuff that you've probably seen before. There's definitely been pictures of this online. What's
Hold
that?
on,
What's
give me a minute.
what's that one?
That one? That's the one I just
No,
played.
this one. What's that one?
Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to play. Hold on.
Okay.
I mean, this one is from...
Okay.
This is from the second floor of the Hemingway house.
I don't know why the videos are so loud. Probably because they're large files.
Those are
trying to
curing
broadcast.
barns, and those are curing barns you'll see in the back there.
Yep.
Yes, those are the curing barns.
Did you get to go in the curing barn?
No, there was nothing in them anyway.
Yeah, that's probably why. I actually did. When no one else did, I got a private one. I looked out. Rich Dolak took me through there, but they had a big group, and I don't think they wanted the group going through. The curing barns are dark and
Messy.
There's not much going on in there.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's cool to see the tobacco hanging and drying. It is cool. It's not. It's
the only problem is we went during the off season, so there was no tobacco there.
Right. So it didn't make any sense. Let's go to a dark barn.
I don't think I have that one available the other side right now. I thought I did, but
that's
I
okay.
don't. Let me double check.
But anyway, I'll just say, so I mean, some of the other ones you've seen, like he has a Snow White. Was it Snow White?
In a Cinderella, I
In
believe.
a Cinderella, and he said that the Snow White represents his mom, and he told the story about how his mom, if I'm trying to remember correctly, Coop, I don't know if you know the story. His mom used to like feed. They used to like feed the workers like way back in the day, and then like she started like feeding the animals, and like eventually like the squirrels and stuff. They used to just come to her, and she would just like hand feed them, which
Yeah, it was something like-
animals,
yeah.
which animals
So
don't.
here,
Yeah, which animals don't do that. You know what I mean? So like it was like he was like that. You know, my mom was like my Snow White. So
Yep.
he like he has the Snow White.
you can see it off to the right there, I believe, and then the Cinderella to the left. So.
Yeah. So like I said, everything he has there, there's a meaning behind it, which I thought
Yeah,
was
there's some
so
flag.
cool.
There's like some flags somewhere, and the flags have meanings with the different countries and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that was from the first video that Nicole showed.
Yeah, the flags were in the first one.
They were
then
in the
there's this-
flags.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And then he even had what, like was it the alien, like the square and the triangle and the circle and the.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had
Like-
something like that. Yeah, he had something like that.
Did you get your coconut here?
No.
No.
Did you? See, that's the one thing you might have. That's because we had. I went as part of when I went to the Cigar. It was part of the Pro Cigar Tour. Yeah. So what they tend to do is they'll slice up some coconuts with a machete, and you get to drink the coconut juice out of it.
Oh, that's
nice.
cool.
Really cool. Yeah, most cigar tours they do that, but I imagine just you guys were on a very small tour, so they weren't gonna set that up.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, there was no one there. It was just us, and we had driven up there. So
Like I said, but that's really cool. I'm sure you'll see that in some store at some point.
Oh yeah. So and then the Hemingway house, and the Hemingway house is a whole thing in itself.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
that's it's almost like a little museum. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of stuff from the movie The Lost City. Now, Coop, you've seen the movie The Lost City, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the movie.
A lot of it was set up as a result of the filming. They did, yeah.
Correct. A lot of people might not know that, but there was a movie film there called The Lost City with Andy Garcia. Stephen Bauer was in it. Who else was there? Was some other named people in there. And they filmed a lot of it there. They filmed, in the off season, which they told us, what happened was they started filming early in the year, and they got some shots when the tobacco was there. But then Andy had said, I need the tobacco here over the summer, because we have actors that are filming other movies right now, and they won't be able to come shoot until the summertime. And they were like, we don't grow tobacco in the summer. And they're like, well, and Andy was like, well, can we grow it? He's like, I need shots with those people like in the field. So that's how the Lost City cigars, you guys know, it was a result of they planted a summer crop so they could shoot the scenes. And then Carlito was like, well, I mean, it's still tobacco, like we'll try to use it. And it has now become the Lost City, cigars that they make, and they come out, I think, like once or twice a year. But that's what that is.
Yeah, why it's so limited, and that's why it's so limited too.
And they only grow that summer crop every couple years.
Yeah,
and then that gives them their supply. They don't grow it every year, which I thought was interesting. He said, no, we only grow it every couple years, and then each crop is enough for them to make what they send out, and keep the perpetual release going. But yeah, it's so when it's limited, it's limited. They don't even grow it every year, which I thought was very interesting too. So you'll see when you go in there, you'll see a lot of photos from the movie, photos of shooting. There's a lot of stuff related to the movie there. But then they have their family photos there and stuff like that. That's really cool. A lot of photos that I've seen before, like in magazines and stuff. But
Yeah, and I'm trying to find.
They have them there on the
And
wall.
I
and it's really
apologize
cool.
in advance because some of this footage too, it's like not the best. I was trying to take very quick snippets.
Well, the funny thing is,
everything.
the funny thing is, like all the stuff you shot, like came out like really clear, but like for
I
some
know.
reason it's lagging in the program, and I'm not sure why.
I think
but-
because these videos are longer than the other ones. The other ones are like 10 seconds or less. So
yeah,
so most of these, but they will be uploaded to the website. So if there's more that you want to see, definitely check it out there once we have those posts up. But yeah, but the Hemingway house is beautiful, and that was a whole.
they even have a little tiny corner of the Hemingway house. They have a tribute to Celia Cruz. Now, Coop, do you know who Celia Cruz is?
I don't remember, but I do remember a tribute to Celia Cruz. Yeah.
Celia Cruz is a very famous Cuban singer, and her music was playing in the factory almost the whole time we were there. And when you go to the Hemingway house, there's a glass display case, and she wore a lot of wigs, so that they have one of her dresses and one of her wigs on display. And I guess, and then there's a painting of her on the wall. And I think they had the painting as a tribute or something like that because they wanted to do something for Celia Cruz, and then her people found out about it, like her foundation, and so they sent them like the dress and the wig that they could put on display as like a thank you and like that. So like that's kind of unique and special too. They have like a whole tribute to Celia Cruz there.
And we took photos of that too. I just don't.
Yeah, there's photos of it somewhere. I think I have a lot of the photos on mine, but obviously I can't help you with that now. But yeah, so this is like when you first walk in the Hemingway house, you'll see this, and you'll see Andy Garcia with the camera filming the movie, and
Again, they have a shop sort of set up, but it's not actually functional. I think it's just that they want to do
used
it.
it at Pro Cigar. They did use it at Pro Cigar for the tour.
Yeah, so
it's a pop-up store. Yep.
No, I was just gonna say I think they just use it for larger events when they come in.
Yeah. They typically, it's not one that, like I said, this is not something that's open 365 days a year. So it's set up where they can easily display product and bring up. Because I bought some cigars there, and they bring, like when we were in Pro Cigar, they bring really cool stuff there, hard to get stuff. Like if you're gonna want them, and it's reasonably priced too. It's not like they're overpricing it by any means. It's probably less than you pay.
yeah, so that's really cool. So you see that, and it's kind of like it's almost like the museum. You know what I mean? Like that's where a lot of that cool stuff is, and it's special pictures and mementos and stuff. And it's so you go up that staircase, and those are like all the photos from.
Yeah.
There's a photo of Cynthia there. That's a beautiful photo of Cynthia. On the wall there, I love that photo. Then there's a photo of the three of them, Carlito, Cynthia, and Don Carlos, their father, like all together. That was a really cool photo. And then there's photos of like Arturo, and there's pictures of like his grandmother and his grandfather together, and a lot of family stuff there, which I thought was really cool. A lot of old stuff. You know what's funny? I learned on that trip, Coop, is that because there was a picture of Arturo holding a box, and it had 50 cigars in it, and I was like, and it was like 25 and 25, with like a divider, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like the new 858s or whatever, and he was like, oh yeah, he's like, well, that's how cigars came back then. He's like, they came in 50 count boxes, and then as they started getting more expensive, they went down to like 20, 25. He's like, and now a lot of them are in 10 count boxes. He's like, the boxes over time have gotten smaller as the cigars have gone up in price. It's like, oh, that's true. They keep getting more expensive, and the boxes get smaller.
Yep.
But he's like, but yeah. So right here, this is Nicole with their horses. They have animals at the farm too. They have Arabian horses. They have
Peacocks, they have flamingos, they have rabbits, they have
ducks, geese.
Like every animal. They have
Jose.
dogs.
We were trying to get Jose to see the geese there.
Oh yeah.
I was with Jose. Yeah.
Was he like afraid or something? What do you mean by you were trying to get him to go see the geese?
Well, I don't know if you know, there's a famous video of Jose getting attacked by geese in Macedonia.
I don't think
Didn't
I
know
saw
that.
that one. I mean, I know he feeds the ducks, but I don't know about the geese.
Oh, I'll have to find it, maybe on Emma's feed, where Jose literally, the ducks start chasing after him, and he's running with his camera and stuff. It's hysterical. This might have been before you guys were getting into things. When that's happened, when he first moved to Macedonia.
I gotta see that now.
I know.
Yeah, it's
Jose getting chased.
legendary. It's legendary.
Oh man, leave it to Jose, right?
Jose.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because when we were in the factory tour, there's the bale of the Piloto Cubano, and Jose goes right into it and starts sniffing it. And like, and I always say he loves Piloto Cubano, and he was right in there with that bale.
So I just want to show super quick just two more things, and then we'll wrap up us talking about our trip. But as I said earlier, we were able to experience their holiday party for the cigar rollers. So
This is cool.
this is actually, I'm going to try to make it bigger. This one I had to take with my phone. Let me loop it. But yeah, see, right in the background, so they rented an arena for this. And this I just took a quick video with my phone. Sorry, if I can make it bigger here, as big as it can get. But that's where the bands were playing. They had a dance floor. Obviously people were sitting around in the arena, but, up at the top, they had flags that were clearly like hand painted. So Fuente is Fuente, Somos Fuente. All of the cigar rollers were just, really having a blast, enjoying themselves and, listening to their favorite bands. And it was just, that was, beautiful. I would say, but next to the school, my second favorite part of the trip, just to see these, these people.
People were so happy,
enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
that's what was
Fuente
cool.
ashtrays there.
I know.
Not like cheap little metal tin things. It is the Fuente ceramic ashtrays there.
And I do have one more, and this is just a picture because again, I didn't want to take too many there. But where is it? Boom. Should come up right now. I got a couple of pictures of the cigar rollers who received plaques and awards. So for those of you listening, these are some of the people making your favorite Fuente cigars being awarded, and and this is just one group that was awarded. I believe these are the people who have been with Fuente for 30 years plus.
Yeah, 30 or more years. Yeah.
They had different color plaques for like different things, but
some of them were other kinds of like recognition, but most of it was like that long tenure and they've been there for a long time.
I think there was like good attendance too, and like there was a certain other
people. I think there was like some for like people who like never missed a day of work.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But I mean, when you look at the video she had up before of all the people there, I mean, that's not every employee, but it's a lot of their employees. So
no, that party was just for cigar rollers. They do things for other, for obviously other Fuente employees, but this specific event was just for factory workers.
Yeah, I mean, those are the people. I mean, when you smoke those cigars, those are the people who make them. I mean, those are the people that matter. The thing I took away from like the factory part is like, those are the people that make it happen. Those people who come to work every day, they do their job, they roll the cigars, and they just those are the people that they make it happen. They make it happen.
Yep.
This is like the access you had here. I did not even know about these events until you guys told me about them. So this is something I've never seen before. I don't know if anyone's seen stuff with this before.
No, but they do it every year, and it's funny because
they do it every year.
Now that I
didn't know about this.
I know that I like searched the hashtag like Fuente Feliz Navidad. And actually some of the cigar rollers posted pictures there on their Instagram, but they don't tag Fuente or anything, but you can actually see from their perspective them taking photos at the event. And I think most of them are quiet on social media, about working in the factory, but there are, some who do share things like that. So I was able to find then some secondhand photos through those hashtags of the rollers who did, take pictures with them. And the funny thing is so many of them came up to Ciro and Carlito and they wanted photos with them. It's one of the only events I think, they probably don't go up to them on a regular basis at the factory and they're like, oh, hey, like I want a picture with you. But it was nonstop, like photo ops for them. All of the employees wanted like a selfie with Carlito or Ciro.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just a grateful people.
Yeah.
That was my big takeaway. They're just you know what it is? They're just happy they have the opportunity to work at a place like that where they can come in, be treated well, and they make probably a fair living for where they live and be happy, and they're safe. They don't have to do anything that's risky, and they got a normal place to work. And it was funny when we were leaving, and like they are all leaving in cars, and they said to us, they're like, this is new, like they never had this. Like years ago, like they were walking to work. They had no shoes. He's like, now they all have their own cars, and they drive to work every day.
Yeah, the arena parking lot, it was like a normal concert traffic jam that you'd experience here, like trying to leave a venue. That's how many of them drove cars.
Yeah.
And just were able to get there. And
Right.
Yeah.
it's
So I mean, when you know, and this is the part like that comes up again, and you know, we talk about this all the time. It's like the FDA stuff, right? The FDA, you know, it's not just about, you know, having the cigars regulated and then like having, you know, them either taken away or the taxes go up, and it hurts us. It hurts those people more because, you know, without this industry, a lot of those people don't really have a lot of other jobs they can do that treat them and, you know, get them to have a life like that. You know, I mean, it's, you know, the FDA comes down and, you know, and tries to destroy this industry. All those people are back out on the street with no shoes on.
Yep.
That's the reality, you know, and it sucks for us, but, you know, we will still survive as a people. They won't, you know.
Nope.
So that's another big thing to remember.
Yep.
You know, when we talk about those things, you know, that's a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
And Coop and I talk about, you know, PCA and FDA and Cigar Rights of America all the time, and I know people probably get sick of it, but we do it for a reason. It's really that important.
so.
and
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Coop.
Yep.
no, you know, I was gonna say one thing that the Dominican has going for it is that the president and the vice president are very close to the industry there. The vice president was at Pro Cigar last year, and the president actually was supposed to be there that night, but there was the whole Ukraine thing he was dealing with. Like, there was some meetings that he was a part of, but he came out to Pro Cigar's 30th anniversary party in like September. So the one thing the Dominican has going is that the at least the administration is very supportive of the cigar industry, and they want to protect it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an important industry, and I would assume it's, you know, in that the Dominican's not the only country. I mean, there's Nicaragua, there's Honduras, there's, you know, some stuff in Costa Rica, there's, you know,
Yep.
Mexico is,
But
you
I
know,
think the Dominican,
Coop will
I
talk
think the
about.
Dominican's very close with it. Yeah.
So it's it really is. It's special and it's important.
Yep.
For just their community. So that's really nice, you know, to hear too. So I know that other countries are a little different, but, you know, in the Dominican, it's from what we saw, it was just it was really refreshing. You know,
I agree.
That was my takeaway. So that's kind of like the gist of it there. And like I said, I know people were interested on, you know, what we were doing there, and that's what we did. And the biggest thing though, that it's not about like just going to see stuff. Like, it's what you take out of it. And for me, it was, you know, people and humanity, and, you know, especially with the school and the kids, and, you know, it makes me excited for next year's fundraiser, because it's like, wow, like I can't wait to do this again. We got to see, like, you know, where it goes and like how it changes people's lives. Like, now I'm excited to do it again. Be like, all right, like let's give them some more money, so you know, they can keep getting their medical supplies. They can keep, you know, having meals. Some of those kids at the school, they get 2 meals every day at the school, and those are
Sometimes the only meals they get.
Yeah, like they go home at night, they don't have dinner, like, because their families, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like, so they eat at school. That's it. When they have lunch at school, they're done for the day. A lot of those kids, they're not eating again until they get back to school tomorrow. So it really is. It's a big deal.
So before we segue into Coop's trip, because we've talked so much about ours, but I want to hear about Mexico City, to be honest with you.
I know that I'm very intrigued by this, because it's not the standard locale for a cigar trip, right? So I'm very curious.
But before we dive in, Mitchell asked a very important question, which is, how are the cigars smoking so far?
Smoking great. It's a good cigar.
Yeah, smoking. Yeah, this is smoking great. This is like, it's a Mexican Puro, so it's going to be very earthy. Some level of spice. A little bit sharp to spice, but not harsh. But not a lot of strength on this cigar. It's probably mild to medium in terms of nicotine level. But a very enjoyable cigar. This is a Tierra Blanca, which is a 6x54. It's one of my favorites in the line.
I can't remember. I think this is the first time I've actually smoked the Generoso. This is one I haven't.
I
smoked yet.
have come around on the Ferio Tagos.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
one I would say it's more mild to medium, and
Mm-hmm.
it just gives me warm, toasty vibes.
Out
It's
of-
It's
just
not
out
your
of-
normal Nicaraguan puro, is what I'll tell you. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's
it's
different. Is what I tell
smooth.
you. Yeah.
It's elegant. It's not toothy.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
flavor notes are just very mild.
Yep.
And
Yep.
for me,
I don't
out of
know
the
if that's a
two,
good way to describe it.
the Generoso is my favorite.
I agree. The Generoso, but the Elegancia is very good too.
It is.
I-
It is.
I was a little when they first came out. They needed a little time, I thought,
Mhm.
and I thought they came around beautifully.
Yeah, I really I thought they did in terms of everything that Mike's making right now. These two I think are my favorite. I mean, Timeless. I mean, well, you get into the conversation of like Ferio Tego Timeless and Nat Sherman Timeless. I have noticed some differences. Slightly, not like earth shattering, but there's some slight differences, and there's still certain cigars in those lines I still continue to enjoy. Like Timeless Supreme is probably one of my favorites from that whole thing. But in terms of the limited Ferio Tegos, I mean, they're both really good. The Generoso is my favorite, but those I think are two of the best cigars overall that he's got going
I
right
prefer
now.
the Nat Sherman Timeless.
Which one?
I'm a Sterling guy.
Yeah, the gold one. What's that one?
Are you
That's-
talking about like the Supremes?
Yes,
the
the
ones that,
Supreme.
yeah,
Yeah,
those
the
You know the
Supremes are
name's
good.
better.
Yeah, the Sterlings
I'll-
the Sterlings are good too.
Oh, I think the Sterlings are. Yeah, they're really good. They're. If you're like a Davidoff white label person, the Sterlings, it's a great counterpart cigar.
Yeah, and those are made of Casada, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I hated the fact that they put Sterling under Timeless. I told Mike that. I think Sterling should have been its own brand, but that's Mike knows a lot more about this stuff than me. So
Yeah, we'll let him
yeah.
make those decisions.
exactly. Yeah, he knows what he's doing, obviously. So,
And
we
how's
might as-
your cigar smoking?
It's great. Great draw. It was burning even almost all the way to this point. I'm just noticing now it's a little uneven, so I'm touching it up, but it's been perfect the whole way through so far. I haven't really had to touch it up until just now, and even then it's very, very, very mild, like offset, and it's almost fine now. But yeah, no, it's great. A lot of flavor, a lot of transition. It's not one-dimensional. It's not flat. It's a lot of flavor in the beginning, and then it changes completely halfway through, and it's like just starting to change again, and it's nice. A lot of flow there.
All right, Coop, lay it on us. Tell us about your
Okay.
trip.
Okay. So,
It's Coop's turn.
Mexico.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just give a little background on what this event is and why I went to it. Casa 1910 is a cigar company that's based in Mexico City. Now, Mexico City is not a cigar producing city. There's not factories there. They don't grow tobacco there. Where they grow tobacco is in the Veracruz region. So, if you're looking at the map of Mexico, Mexico City is in the south central part of the country, and the Veracruz is in the southeast part of the country. It's about 8 hours away. So it's a long trip between the two. So that is not what this trip was designed to be. What it is that Casa 1910. This is the second year they've done this, and it's a party that they basically put on. It's a celebratory party where they invite retailers, key partners, and media into this. Last year they did it for the launch of the company. This year was kind of the launch. They only had one line when they launched, one cigar when they launched last year. Now they have up to 8. Now they're up to 8 lines. But they produce their cigars in various places. What I'm smoking, the Revolutionary series, which is the orange band, is produced in Mexico at that Veracruz region. The green band is produced in Nicaragua. That's the Calvary edition. And then there's the Soldadera edition. This is produced in the Dominican Republic. It's going to be produced in the Dominican Republic. But the company headquarters are in Mexico City. So it was why did I go? Okay. Mexico, you gotta understand, like, Mexican tobacco has been around a long time. We all smoke Mexican tobacco. But Mexico's been it's a bit of an unknown for a lot of us when it comes to going inside the country and understanding the cigar culture in various different forms. So it's been kind of closed off. Most of the Mexican tobacco is controlled by the Torrance family. They're growers and they produce cigars, and they have their own brand, Casa Torrent. But they haven't really opened up that area for tourism or anything like that. So Casa 19, I think they wanted to show their retailers their home base. So it's kind of similar to what McAuliffe does with the open house.
Yep.
Similar to what Espinosa does with
Lizona
Palooza, right?
Yep.
But the difference is they do it in Mexico City and throughout the country. Now, I had never been to Mexico City before. I knew about Mexico City. I knew it was a big city. Going into Mexico City, I could tell you, there's probably outside New York and L.A. and Chicago, as far as sprawling metropolises go. The only other place I've been that's a sprawling metropolis, and Nicole, you probably agree with this, is London. London's huge.
Yep.
Right. So, but going into Mexico City was like a whole other animal. In that this city is enormous. Okay, it is enormous to the point where the difference with all those other cities that I've talked about is it's much more densely populated. So the population density is very, very high down there. So, I'd heard stuff about going to Mexico City. It's dangerous and stuff. Every city you got to be careful in. Some cities more than others. I would say Mexico City is an area where, for the most part, it probably has its areas that are not as good. But we were in one of the better areas, which is there was a couple areas we were in like the Reformer District, which is a lot of where the historical revolution stuff takes place. Because again, Casa 1910 is a brand that was built on the history of the Mexican Revolution, and so the one thing, I'll just say this, right? And I'll talk about the event, but the event's pretty. There's not much I can say of the event that's going to be overly exciting. Not that it was a bad event, but what happens at a good event? You eat, smoke, and have a good time, right? And that's what I did for 3 days. But it was going into Mexico City, and I see this big city, and I mean, the traffic's unreal. I never saw traffic like I saw in Mexico City in my life. And I've been to some of the, Atlanta looked like a walk in the park compared to this, but I would never drive in this city. But you have this population of 18 million people, and here is the thing. It is not a friendly city it has some strict smoking laws in there. Huh. So, unfortunately, like the hotel we were at, and I'll get to this a bit, I couldn't smoke at the hotel. Most of the restaurants are smoke-free, but here's the but. There's, like in every city, I think there's exceptions, and Casa 1910 basically found the loopholes, and basically what they did is they rented out the establishments for all the events. Like there were different restaurants. One was at this kind of like a bed and breakfast like hotel.
Really?
Yeah. So they basically rented the whole thing out, and you were able to smoke. Like one of the restaurants we went to had literally a retractable roof, right? So they opened up the retractable roof and we could smoke. And there's not like this huge amount of cigar stores that you're gonna see like you expect in a city of 18 million people. It just, and not all the cigar stores have lounges, right? So they're limited, right, in terms of what you could do there. But the places I smoked at were fantastic, and there are places you could smoke at. And like I said, Casa 1910 made it easier because they literally found venues that we could smoke there, and you were at no shortage of anything to smoke at this thing. So one little story I'll just tell is I got into Mexico. The event was on a Friday to Sunday, but I got in on Thursday and left on Monday because it was just how can I put it? It would have been ridiculous to just go down for that short amount of time. And I think that's one thing that maybe I think is a little bit of a problem with the event. It's a short event to make a trip that far. Not that it wasn't worth it.
Right. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'm in the elevator, and I am getting ready to go up to the roof of the hotel I'm in to light a cigar. Now, you ever go into an elevator, and you go into an elevator, and sometimes you get to the elevator, and you find out you're not going up, you're going down? You ever, so like you end up, like,
Oh,
you
yes.
have to
Yeah.
go down first, right?
Yeah.
So I get in the elevator, and I'm in the elevator, and then this guy recognizes me, who I really didn't know. His name's Ivan Ocampo. He is a writer for Cigar Snob, and he knew right away who I was. And he's like, we're in the elevator, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm going up to the roof to smoke. But unfortunately, I'm going down. He's like, well, I got bad news for you. You can't smoke on the roof. Right? I'm like, really? I'm like, this stinks. He goes, yeah, I'm going out to this place called Cigar Point in basically downtown Mexico City. Why don't you come with me? I'm like, well, I might as well, right? Because I was going to go smoke. Ivan, by the way, is an awesome guy to meet from Cigar Journal. He really, really cool guy. He actually he does the Cigar Snob. Did I say Cigar Journal? Cigar Snob podcast. He does.
Right.
Cool guy. But we went to Cigar Point the first night. Again, not a huge humidor, okay? This is probably one of the better lounges in Mexico City, for sure, but not a huge humidor. But again, we're spoiled in the U.S. with some of the Dave Garofalo, Jeff Borshowitz, Abe the Babna humidors, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't see these types of humidors in other countries, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've kind of already put level set with that. But it wasn't a bad humidor. I mean, they had Cubans there and stuff. Which was really, really cool to go see, right? So, like I said, I hung out with Ivan. It was really cool. Food, I'll just say this. I don't want to see another taco for, like, months. No,
Did you eat a lot of tacos?
I ate a lot of tacos, and here's the thing. Like, so Ivan and I, we go grab some tacos that Thursday night because downstairs from the Cigar Point, there's like this food court bar area with different pavilions, right? It's really, really active, and they had a taco stand there. So we got some tacos, right? And I'm like, but what happened is we had tacos every meal after that, right? Although I never got the tacos there. So that's, that was kind of like the opening night. And then we went to a restaurant Friday night for the welcome. And they rented out the restaurant, and that night they launched the Soldadera series, which is a series out of the Dominican that's coming out. So we did that. And then Saturday was kind of a combination of they took us around the Mexico City, and then we had another event, like a social event, right? So... The interesting thing is they have this place, and I'm just Chapultepec Castle. Okay, it's this castle that's located in the middle of a park in Mexico City that's about the size of, if not bigger than Central Park. And it's up on this hill, this castle, right? So the way it was supposed to happen was the bus was supposed to drop us off at the top of the hill, and we were supposed to walk into the castle and we get this tour. Well, I don't know what happened, but there was some credentials they didn't have, right, to get the bus up there. So the bus had to go to the bottom of this hill. And you get there, and you see the castle up there, and it's a super gentle slope, okay, to walk up to the castle. I mean, it's not like the steep climb, but it's a long walk, and I'm telling you, like when you're 54 years old like I am, I felt it. But I wasn't the only one feeling it. It was good to see some 35-year-old people hurting going up to that castle. And like I said, the castle was great. It's, you get to see a lot of stuff from Emperor Maximilian, who was an emperor in the 19th century. There's a lot of artifacts in there. There's and I think it was cool because they had an area. He had a smoking room area you can visit. You can't smoke in there, but it's tourism. Old lighters that they had. It was kind of cool to see some of that stuff. And then afterwards we went to this place. I want to say they called it a boutique hotel, but it was I think it's kind of a pavilion / bread and breakfast kind of deal. And they had the whole experience, Mexican music. They set up a mini cigar lounge in there for us to smoke. And then there was a rooftop party afterwards where you got another great view of Mexico City. And that was really, like I said, they gave out a lot of prizes and stuff like that to people. Now, here's what's an interesting thing I thought from, again, cigar. Like I look at this from the cigar industry standpoint, right? And there was one interesting thing that I thought they did at this at the Casa 1910 event, the 1910 experience. They actually were taking orders for sales there.
Interesting.
Now, it was not a heavy push, right? Not a heavy push, but they were there, and there was some significant incentives if you put your orders in down there. Like, you would save some money for sure. So, not a bad thing to do. You know, not a bad thing to do. And like I said, they didn't push the retailers, and depending how much you bought, the more you save. So there was some incentives to get to do the orders down there for sure. The final day they had what they call. By the way, I left the bed and breakfast at 10 p.m. I was beat, right? But people went till 4 a.m. Okay, that night. So they called the Sunday day the recovery brunch. We went to another restaurant. That was the one with the retractable roof, and that's where. Again, it was just more cigars and more, very relaxed atmosphere. I got to talk. I mean, I met a lot of people who I knew online. I met people that, for the first time, it was really, really, really cool. Like I said, it was a great experience. I loved going. Afterwards, this was the interesting thing, is I met this guy, Jacob. He's a retailer out of Texas. And he said, hey, what are you doing? I said, when are you going back? I said, I'm not going back till tomorrow. He's like, I'm not going back either. He goes, you want to go smoke? I said, yeah, like a cigar point. He goes, no. He goes, let's go to the Ritz-Carlton, right? And I'm like, the Ritz-Carlton? He goes, yeah, they got this rooftop lounge. It's incredible, right? So we go up to the rooftop lounge. And literally they have a partitioned area by the window where you get, like, the most incredible views of Mexico City you're going to get. And we smoked there. We smoked there till late. It was great. Then we walked around the city a little afterwards that night, which, again, this was a much safe area to do that. He was familiar with Mexico City. People were asking me about the language. I think there was a question about language, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ivan knew Spanish very well. Jacob knew Spanish good. The hotel spoke English. So I was fine not knowing much Spanish. Even though I had 3 years of Spanish in high school, right? I was fine. It wasn't difficult, but when I was going around to Cigar Point and then to the Ritz-Carlton, that was great. I'll say the last thing is everything's cheap in Mexico City. Taxi, Ubers are cheap. The food is not expensive there. The hotels are not expensive there. I probably would stay at the Ritz-Carlton next time. Probably could afford it. It actually is much, much more reasonable. There's definitely not inflation down there. But the other interesting thing was in the hotel I couldn't smoke. And
oh, you told me this story. This was funny.
So I looked to see what the smoking fine was. Like $45, right? So I just I went down to the desk and I'm like, hey, it's just like, so I can't smoke in my room, right? And they said no. I said, what happens if I smoke in my room? And they go, you get a $45 fine. I said, is that per night? And they said, no, that's for your stay. So I'm like, well, screw that. I went back up in my room and smoked. I was like, for $45, that was like a bargain, right? To do that. So
if anybody wanted to know how much of a rebel Coop is, you have your answer.
I have paid more. Carney would love that, right?
Oh yeah,
he would have done that.
For $40 for the whole stay,
He'd
Carney
be
would
smoking the whole time.
Carney would be fishbowl in that room.
If it was his team, he probably would have rented out, all the team rooms and said, yeah, just expense it, right? So I haven't looked at my final credit card receipt yet, but I'll see about that. Aaron was asking if I'm a Corona or Dos Equis guy. The answer is I drank a beer called Victoria down there. And you can get that in the States. It actually is pretty good. So, but I didn't do a lot of, I shouldn't say, there was a lot of alcohol at this event, all right?
Oh, tequila, I assume.
Tequila, They had these hard seltzers. There was more alcoholic drinks than non-alcoholic drinks, is what I'll just say.
That sounds about the same as the Dominican.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I've been to the Dominican. This was much, much more limited. Where there was one point where I asked for water, right? And they went in the back, and they went in the back at the boutique hotel, and they give me this thing. I'm like, this is probably from the tap. This isn't a good idea to drink this. So
Yeah, no.
I didn't for sure. But culturally it's a really cool city to go see. There are places you can smoke there. I definitely get, like, if you're gonna go down to Mexico City, it's cheap to go down there, and certainly culturally a great place to go. Cigars aside, but you can smoke. You can smoke. Is what I'm just telling you. I won't say the name of the hotel on the air, but if someone's going down there, I'll tell them what the $45 hotel fine is. But I advise going to that Ritz-Carlton area. The other thing I'll just say is, you're familiar with the Champs-Élysées in Paris?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they have a street in Mexico that was, because the French were in Mexico City at one point, and they built something basically the equivalent of the Champs-Élysées. They call it the Paseo de la Reforma. And it's got all the high-end commercial stores, and it's got the mall setting with the trees. It's beautiful. I walked down there when we were coming back from the Ritz-Carlton, and, I was down there November 20th, and there was not one Christmas decoration out yet, which was like, wow, this is great. Like, it's like, I just asked, I said, when do you put the Christmas decorations out? They go, like, December 1st. I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
So it was the opposite for us in the Dominican. They already had all their Christmas stuff up.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Trees
They didn't have it
everywhere.
Yeah, but they didn't have it in Mexico yet. I can tell you that. And part of the reason for that is the last day I was in Mexico was Revolution Day, which is the equivalent of their 4th of July. So they kind of like to get through Revolution Day first before, and that's why they had the event this weekend before Thanksgiving, because they wanted to coincide it with Revolution Day. And the nice thing is, like I said, it's after that they get through that, and then they focus on Christmas after that. I was also down there when the NFL game was taking place and the World Cup was starting, which was very interesting. So, everyone was really pumped for the World Cup. Mexico hadn't played yet. And then the San Francisco 49er fans took over the city, both local and a lot of people flew in from the U.S. for it. They were, I didn't see one Arizona Cardinals jersey. I must have saw 100 San Francisco 49ers jerseys.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'd go back. I would definitely go back. I think they can grow this event. I think eventually they may open this up to consumers. I think that sounds like what's the plan.
If it continues to grow, yeah.
If it continues to grow, it's not a cheap event for them to put on. They pay a lot for that. But I think, they'd have to grow up. But I think it's a great way for the retailers to really also, you get good access to the people who run the company. So you definitely have access to the company, which is great. And maybe someday they would expand it to the tobacco fields out in Veracruz. But, there wouldn't have been enough time. They'd have to make that a week-long thing if they did that, because it's 8 hours from Mexico City.
Right.
To that. So, but I would definitely recommend it. I would go back again for sure to it. It's, like I said, it's kind of like a Lozona-Palooza. I haven't been to McAuliffe thing. I'm probably going to McAuliffe in 2023. I put this into the Coop budget to do that, but definitely Lozona-Palooza. It's probably the closest thing I've seen to that. It's a weekend long party, so there's good social interaction with that, and then like I said, just seeing where this company is and where they're based out of, and it's kind of a cool thing to see.
It's funny. I wanted to ask you this because you've been to a lot more events than we have in your tenure. I mean, you've been around for a good amount of time. Talking to you about this, it sounds like this was a good event, as you just said, and like most cigar events, it's a weekend of partying, and sometimes it's a business event, maybe, but sometimes it's not. But everyone always finds an excuse to have a good time. Have there been any, good-sized events where you've had to travel to where it was a disaster?
Yeah, there was one I went to.
He doesn't want to say.
You don't have to name
You don't
names,
have to name
but
the names.
loosely tell us what.
It was in New Jersey, and it was a festival up there. But the problem was it was the first year they did it. That's why I don't want to.
Yeah.
The first year you do it, there's room to grow. So that one I would say is been wasn't a great one per se. But the ones I've gone to primarily have been Abe's event, Great Smoke. I've been to that one, and you're not gonna be disappointed there. I've been to JR Cigar Smoking in the Carolinas. That's a great event, as well. There used to be a big event in Atlanta called Cigar World. Would do this big event. They don't do it anymore. That was a really, really cool event to do. So, no, I mean, like I said, that New Jersey one might be the only. There was the Jacksonville Cigar Festival, which was okay. It was very, it wasn't quite. They didn't have a lot of the personalities at the New Jersey and the Jacksonville events. And I think if you're going to have these festivals, you want to have some of the personalities. I've never been to CI's Cigar Fest. It's too big an event to go to.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Rocky Mountain, and Rocky Mountain's timing is just bad for me because it's coming out of the trade show, and then it's getting into the end of the third quarter for me on my day job. So they tend to have at the end of August, and it's a really tough thing for me to go to.
Me too.
On that, but it's not that I don't want to go to it. I do because I've heard so many good things about it. Texas has some good events too. I was talking to people on the McAuliffe event. I said I want to commit to go next year because they've been I've had a good relationship with that company, and I think it's time for me to go to that. So most of them are pretty good though. But I think when the events are like mature, they're better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I that makes sense. I mean, I would agree with that.
And we're due for the McAuliffe one, so maybe we'll do a powwow coop.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I saw Bear Allen was out there, and it's like.
Yep.
I think I'm missing something out on that. Now, it was a little tough for me. I thought I had an event in Florida for my day job, which is why I didn't commit to it. And then it got canceled because there was hurricane fears at the time, and they couldn't get the amount of people for the event. And then the hurricane happened later anyway. So, but no, this year I've cleared it, made sure I could go to it.
It coincided, I know, for us with Kurt Kendall's anniversary party, and we'd already committed to tickets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
an
issue.
Usually,
but.
It usually conflicts with one of the barn smokers too. Or it's around the time they do one of the barn.
Actually, you're right.
That was last year.
Yeah, so
this year you were at the barn smoker.
Yeah, this year it coincided with barn smoker. Last year it didn't, but it did coincide with the anniversary event, and those tickets they're pretty pricey, so.
Yeah. No, definitely. That I agree.
It's hard to get to all the events.
There's a lot.
I can't get to Two Guys is a tough event for me to get to, because you have to commit to the tickets months in advance.
Yes, and they sell out quick.
And I'm not one to kind of look. If I can't get the tickets easy, I just don't. So, but I really do want to go to the Two Guys anniversary party because everyone tells me it's a very unique event.
Oh, it is. That's definitely one to see if you get the chance.
I haven't been, but I know you've been.
I've been.
A few years.
No, it's good. He gives away something crazy every year.
Yeah. I used to go to Big Smoke in New York when they had it there, but I never actually. I only went to the actual Big Smoke once. But it used to be when they had it in New York, it used to be around this time of the year. And everyone would do events there that week. So it was more, when I moved to Charlotte, I went to the Big Smoke, but I thought the event week leading up to it was actually better than the actual event. And then they moved Big Smoke New York to Miami.
Las Vegas. Oh, no, Miami,
Well, Las Vegas has always been there. They wanted to add an East Coast one. They did it at Foxwoods one year. I don't think it worked out well. But so they ended up moving it to Miami.
And now it's out of the question because of the smoking. The casinos in Foxwoods and Mohegan, they used to be smoke friendly. They are no longer.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
So
after the pandemic, they changed.
Yep.
Yeah. I was talking to some. I haven't mentioned this to Abe yet, and he'll probably hate the idea. But I think there's one thing that would be really cool if they added to the Big Smoke week, Great Smoke Weekend. I think they should do a black tie thing, and do something with charity with it. I think that would, because I think that's the one piece that's missing in this country, is this big black tie event where consumers can go to, kind of like what you could do at Pro Cigar, kind of what you could do at. it probably would be Abe's worst nightmare to do it, right?
Of
like,
course.
I don't think he'd want to do it, right? But that's probably going to be very complicated to do, and you'd have to sell tickets, and they probably wouldn't be cheap. But I do think that would be like the icing on the cake for the Great Smoke if he did that. Because it would add a gala. Like, we don't have a gala event in the U.S. really. That's the one thing that we're missing.
Yeah, you go to Pro Cigar, you got the white party at the monument in Santiago.
Yeah.
The
auction, yep.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. There really isn't a really nice black tie event.
And we didn't get to, obviously, we didn't go to Pro Cigar, but we actually ate dinner right across from the monuments. We got to stare at it for like 2 hours.
The steakhouse place.
No, it's like a casual like pizza restaurant. And actually, there was a couple baseball players there that night. I think.
Maybe I think it was more of a Cuban style restaurant.
Well, they did a little bit of. They had like pizza. I think I got fajitas. It was more. It was definitely more casual.
It was casual.
So.
Yeah.
But right across.
Yeah, there's a lot of restaurants that surround the monument actually, in that area too. And then, of course, probably the place you didn't go to was Saga.
No, we didn't go there.
Yeah.
We went to Camp David, though.
Camp David, there's a restaurant up on the hill.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's real.
We ran into Hochi Blanco there, too.
Oh, wow.
He was attending a wedding on site and had quite a few drinks, but he was having a good time.
He likes the bar.
Dude, he was living his best life, you know? He was living his best life.
Yeah, but you did, I gotta say, you did go to Carlito's favorite place. I know that. Il Pasticcio?
A pasticcio,
And we
yeah.
made a new friend.
Yes.
Yes, you did. By the way, that's the greatest Italian restaurant in the planet, and I've been to Italy. So,
dude, that food was fantastic.
The chef is amazing. Yeah. Yep.
Like,
I don't know what I ate.
Carlito's got his table, and Carlito's got his table.
yeah, he does in the back. They got their own room so they can smoke.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that was cool. We got to meet Stephen Bauer.
Yes.
Oh, legend. Absolutely.
Which was very interesting. I knew who he was right away when they said Stephen Bauer's here. I was like,
I have a
no
picture.
way.
Hold
And
on.
Nicole's like, who? And I'm like, come on.
I don't know who it is, but here he is. He played guitar for us, actually. And he was quite good.
Yep.
But
that was a good time.
Yep. Yeah. Did you have the Italian burrito or something at Carlito? There's something called an Italian burrito. Yes. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
No, they were doing.
They pretty much brought out like a sampling of like all their like best dishes. So like.
Yeah, it's small.
Yeah.
It's small plate and
Yeah.
like. Yeah, and it's and it will fill. Believe me, you'll be filled up.
Oh yeah, is she she doesn't eat a lot of food, as you know. You've eaten with us. She doesn't eat a lot, so they looked at her and they're like, "Do you not like the food?" Like she's
and
like,
I don't
"No,
want
I'm
to
full."
waste it, so
And
I
they're
pushed it over to him.
And they're like, "What do you mean you're full?" And then she's like I don't eat a lot because like you know, and oh, and I'm like yeah. So like she would like get something and she would try it, and then like she would shift it to me and then I would put it away. So. It didn't go to waste. I mean,
yeah, we were there like 9 hours with Carlito because what happened is people were coming in for Pro Cigar and he was telling he was inviting some other people along. So we ended up getting there at about 3 o'clock and we ended up leaving like about 11:30.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean we were there
Damn.
a long time.
How much food did you eat?
A lot, but by 8 o'clock we had stopped, and it was more smoking and. And I had to go register for Pro Cigar, right? Because I had a COVID test I had to do to show them, and that COVID test expired at midnight. So I'm like, I go, Carlito, I gotta go, and he's like, no. He goes, Ciro, take care of this. So Ciro, he goes, give me your vaccination card, and he called someone to come over, take my vaccination card, and like, go register me. He took a picture of it, actually, is what they did. They didn't take the card. So, and he got me registered, and I ended up hanging out with Carlito. And then Fred Ruiz calling me up to go to Saga. I'm like, Fred, I'm with Carlito. I was like, I'm not even going to be able to eat at Saga at that point. I'm like, I'm so full, you know?
Well, there was actually another part of our trip that we didn't talk about. We almost didn't make it back.
I heard about that. I get the message from you, like, overnight, I guess.
God. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The whole trip was great, and it was like the last 24 hours that was terrible.
I was the travel day home. I was beyond exhausted and miserable, because I didn't get any sleep, so I was sleep deprived.
Yep.
But so we get to our hotel in Santiago, on Tuesday night, and it's like 11:30, and we realize we don't have our passports. And so what we didn't mention before is we also went to Puerto Plata for a couple of days just to kind of have like some downtime and to relax and just kind of do our own thing together. And so we were over there, and then we came back. So when we met Stephen Bauer, we met him in Santiago. We came back from Puerto Plata, had dinner with him and stuff like that, and then we were traveling the next day. So we got to the hotel at like 11:30, and I'm like, we don't have our passports, and I'm like. At this point, we didn't know where they were. We didn't know what happened. We're like, we got to be on a flight in 6 hours. Like, we're in trouble. And so I had the phone number for the guy at the resort in Puerto Plata. And I called him on the phone. And I go, hey, I was like, so we don't have our passports. We think maybe we might have left them behind. He's like, all right, let me go. I'll go check your room or whatever, and I'll see. And I was like, and so I'm waiting. He's like, I'll call you back. So like, I'm just sitting there waiting to hear back. And I'm just like, if he comes back and says I can't find him,
That's what you call Carlito.
I'm like, I'm gonna flip out. I'm like, this is not good. So I'm like, okay, so I'm waiting, and then he texts me. He goes, is it possible you left them in a nightstand? And I'm like, anything's possible, sure. And he's like, yeah, that's where they were. I have them. And I was like, well, at least they weren't stolen. At least they're not lost. Like, we know where they are. And then, so then he calls me, and he's like, I got your passports. He's like, you're in Santiago? I go, yeah. He's like, well, the only problem with that is he's like, it's 12 o'clock. And this is the Dominican, and it's an hour and 10 minutes away. So he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna get them. And I'm like, we're gonna probably have to reschedule our flight so we can get them. And so he's like, let me call you back. I might have a plan.
I'm like, we'll pay whatever it is. Just like tell
He
us.
calls me back. He goes, listen. He's like, I got someone who will drive them from Puerto Plata to your hotel right now. He's like, he won't be there for like an hour and a half, but like,
And you need cash to pay him.
he's like. He's like, but like you'll get your passports. I'm like, whatever it is, just and it wasn't much, to be honest with you. But I was like, whatever it is.
For the severity of the situation.
And I was like, just do it. So then Nicole's like, well, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm like, that's nice. So I'm like sitting there trying to kill time in the room, and I'm just like on my phone, and I'm like, okay, and I'm waiting, and then finally I'm like, I'm just gonna go down to the lobby and wait, and I'm like falling asleep, and I'm like, it's 1 o'clock. I'm like, this is not good. And I already knew, like, the travel is going to suck because I'm going to be so exhausted.
Right.
So I go downstairs. I didn't even put my shoes on. I went down to the lobby in my socks and my gym shorts that I sleep in and a T-shirt. And I sat in the lobby. And the guy, he's like, hey, do you need help? I go, I'm waiting for someone to bring me my passport. And he's like, oh, okay. No problem. And I'm just sitting on the couch in the lobby. I'm on my phone. It's like a little after 1, and I'm like falling asleep, and I'm like, finally, like the front people or whatever, like the valet and the reception, like they go outside, whatever, and they're like calling over to me in Spanish. And I'm like, oh, me, yeah, see, okay. I go out there. This guy like walks up. He's got this envelope. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yo no hablo en español, yo soy Mateo Tabacco, passport, sí. I'm like, okay, yeah. And he gives me the thing, and I'm like, I look at my phone, it's like 1:35, and I'm like, well, at least I have my passports now. And I go up to the room, and I'm trying to sleep, and I can't sleep. And then before I know it, my alarm goes off, and it's like 10 of 5. Nicole's like, we gotta go. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And we go to the airport. We're going through security, this and that. Get on the plane. I'm like, all right, I'm on the plane now. We got like, 2 hours till we get to Miami. So I'm like, I'm just going to get all snuggled in, fall asleep. I kind of fall asleep. I wake up. The flight was supposed to leave at like 7:15. I think, like just after 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what flight. There's one flight to Miami, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wake up and it's like after 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I don't feel like we're in the air. And then I look over and she's like, we haven't left yet. I'm like, we haven't left yet? What's going on? There's something wrong with the plane. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, this day is just getting worse. And then they're like, we're going to deboard the plane. There's a mechanical issue. You guys are going to have to visit the desk and this and that. And I'm like, oh, God. We get our shit. We get off the plane. We go to the desk. And then they're like, we can get you on a flight to Miami in a couple hours. I'm like, well, that's not that bad. So.
Oh, they had another flight.
They did.
No, so there was a mechanical issue with the plane.
Yeah.
And then they were saying they just needed to like refill out the paperwork. You know, it had already been fixed. They
whatever
already
it was.
had.
Yeah. It was the same plane.
It was the same plane. But I was checking FlightAware as like we're just sitting in the plane, and like FlightAware is like, oh, you're now departing at like 10 a.m. And I go, well, that's not the half hour they just said. And they came over the loudspeaker and they're like, you know, I know you're getting notifications for 10 a.m., but we assure you it's just paperwork. We're still going to leave for 8 o'clock. And of course, then we had to deboard, and it was 10 a.m. But we had a connecting flight in Miami.
So then we missed the connecting flight.
So we missed the connecting flight due to our departure. So we, luckily from Miami to Boston, we were able to be pushed back to another flight. They have many of those flights.
But the story doesn't end there.
It does not.
But at least you could smoke at Miami airport. So.
Well, we didn't.
So we get to Miami.
Yeah.
And as you know, we got to go through customs at MIA. That's always fun. So they have 40 desks at customs, and of course,
Two were open.
And all the lines were full of people, of immigrants, the U.S. citizens, and then like the immigrations, the non.
Well, you're also traveling the worst day. Keep in mind too.
I know.
Yeah.
It was so we had to get through that. We finally get through that. Recheck the bags, go through security again, and then I'm like, all right, we're done. I'm like, I just want to eat. I'm like, let's go to Wendy's or something. I just want like some American food. Like the Dominican food was great, but like
goat.
I need like regular American food again. So we're standing there, we're getting in front, and then I get a text message from Carney, and he goes, What time's your flight leave Miami? Like, are you at MIA? And I was like, yeah. And then it dawns on me, and I go, John's in Miami because he did an event with Lito and Tony yesterday, and I'm like, are you coming to the airport? And he's like, I'm on my way. And I'm like, oh, yes. I'm like, this day is going to be nice after all. I get to see John for like however long. And I'm like, if you hurry up, like, I'll give you some cigars. Like, we can hang out and I can see you. And he's like, I'm on my way. Like, and I'm like, I wish I thought of it. I'm like, I would have told him, like, come to the airport earlier. But, like, with our travel and all that, I was like, it wasn't even on my mind. So, like, we're standing there at the gate. And I'm like, where are? He calls me on the phone. He's like, I'm pulling in a rental car right now. And I'm like, they're boarding now. I'm like, I got like 10 minutes before like I absolutely have to be on the plane.
And his gate was only like.
We were at gate 48. He was at gate like 42. Like, he was like, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm standing there, and he calls me. He's like, I dropped the rental car. He's like, I'm not gonna make it. I gotta get on the tram. I gotta go all the way over to the security. I'm like, oh, what could have been? So I get on the plane. I get nestled in. It's been like less than 10 minutes, and they close the doors. We were like one of the last people on the plane, and he sends me a photo. He's like, I'm at your gate. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I missed him by this much.
But we're gonna see him in a few weeks anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So just so you know, Terminal D, you were probably at Terminal D.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gate 36, TGI Fridays, smoking lounge, and you can get American food there.
We didn't. Honestly, by the time we got through security, so it was about a 3-hour layover.
Yeah.
By the time we did all of that,
We had 40 minutes.
We literally had 40 minutes.
Yeah,
So
no, it's tough.
it was not a lot of
Usually
time.
when I fly to the DR, I stay in Miami for the weekend before and after.
Yeah.
So I get to the airport early, and I go right over to TGI Fridays and smoke. And you always meet someone from the cigar industry there because so many people go through there. So I met Mickey Peg there the last time I was in Miami airport, and I was smoking with Mickey Peg. So I've met other people. I think I met Terrence there once.
I feel like Rafael Nadal's there like every 4 days because he's always posting pictures there. Like
Rafael, he's the king. He is the king of the airport selfie. And there's this place he always takes the selfie at, right? It's always the same place. And then Terrence literally took his selfie like I've seen some of these selfies now. I can tell. It's like, oh, Terrence, look at Raphael's picture. He's like, holy cow, it's the same. I said, yeah, it's the same place you guys are in.
It's right by the. It's almost like right by the Nathan's hot dogs.
Yeah.
It's like right
exactly.
there. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, Miami Airport. Yeah, but that's. But at least you got home.
We made it.
You made it home.
I was tired, but I made it.
Like, you remember what happened with me when I came back from Boston? It was the Providence Airport. I got home a day later. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So, yeah. I have one more trip this year, and I'm just crossing my fingers. The flight makes it in and out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Are you public about that trip or?
Yeah. I'm going to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I'm going to be seeing Matt and Garrett, but I'm also going to be seeing a member of the Coop team I've never met. I've known him 8 years, Dave Burke, of the Jukebox Show. He's coming in to the area because his family's he lives in Australia. So he is coming in because his family's there. So I don't know how much time I'm going to get with Dave. I said, look, even if we get an afternoon, I said, whatever, but I'm going to stay a few days up there. I'm just a little fearful of the ice up there, so, but apparently they have plenty of the ice.
You're fearful of the ice? What, for the travel home?
Just the icing and stuff. But they were telling me there's much more de-ices. Like some airports only have like one de-icer. They have plenty of them up there. So
I'd hope so.
So I'm going to be doing How About That Cigar that Monday night. And I think Matt and Garrett will take me. I know there's a cigar shop. They told me, and I got my hotel right near there. So, yeah, that's where I will be next weekend. I leave on Friday. And that's my last trip of 2022.
Well, that's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
I haven't met Dave. I think it's a unique situation. So
we were talking. We're done traveling this year, but obviously we have next year.
And we didn't talk about it, but the Cigar Heritage Festival is this weekend.
Oh, that's right. That's going on right now.
We missed that event. But.
Yeah, if this didn't happen, I was thinking of going. And I probably would have went, but it actually is not a good weekend for a lot of reasons. Personally, not to go, but I probably would have tried to go. But what happened was Dave. I knew Dave had this trip planned for like months and months in advance before I even knew the dates of the festival. So, the festival seems like more people come into Tampa for the weekend and hang out. Is what I know several people who've gone down there this year. So it's a crowded festival. I mean, it's one of the biggest attended events here. But
how many days is it?
It's one day. It's tomorrow, but people come in for the whole weekend. They make a whole weekend.
Yeah, and they do other events. Like some local shops, I think, host things. And I know the J.C. Newman, they do like a discount, I think, on the factory tour. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There's other stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, J.C. Newman is a big part. Obviously, they're a big part of that community there. But Tampa's a pretty cool place to go to. It's not an expensive city in Florida to stay in. It's one of the more inexpensive cities. And there's plenty of cigar shops in the area to go to. I mean, most people go to Corona. And usually I always get the hotel near Corona because the parking situation stinks at Corona.
Yeah.
So I've learned to walk, get some exercise and walk with that. Yeah, you've been there, right?
King Corona?
No,
Tampa.
What was the Davidoff?
Oh, Corona.
Yes.
Jeff's Corona. Yes, we've been there. Yeah.
The Davidoff store in Tampa or the one in Orlando, or both?
We've been to both.
We stayed in Tampa for one weekend. I believe we stayed at Hotel Haya. And we did the J.C. Newman, the whole factory. Yeah,
best.
but we
Yeah,
did the whole
that.
J.C. Newman like factory tour there. We did that last time, and I believe we did stop by. We didn't stay very long, but we had one cigar in that lounge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hotel Haya has a smoking area, an outdoor smoking area inside the hotel, which is really cool.
Yeah, I remember that.
But you're in old Tampa, Ybor City. I mean, you're right in the heart of it there.
Yeah.
Worth every cent to stay there. If you're not gonna be in Ybor City, I recommend going to the kind of the area by where Davidoff, now the Corona store is. There's plenty of hotels, like really good hotels. You can get at a good price.
Yeah, it's near Raymond James too.
Yeah, Raymond James near the hockey arena as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so Bear and I, we've been there. In fact, I did a Spare Note show from that area once. I remember I did it when I did it from the hotel back last August. I did the Spare Note show from my hotel room that night.
Oh, I've also stayed because I stayed there with Carney once. We stayed at the JW Marriott in Tampa.
Yeah, I mean that's right in that whole area. It's in that same
We were
area.
we were like our hotel room that we had, like it looked right at Amalie Arena. We were like right there.
Yep. It's yep. That's I said it's an easy it's easy access to the highways. You got Wawas there. So
That was so funny. I
that's
remember that I was so hungry, and John's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I want to eat something." And we had just come from Grand Cathedral. We were there for like 7 hours. I'm like, "I'm hungry. I need to eat something." He's like, "Well, okay." He's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Well, let's do Uber Eats." And so we were like, we're both on Uber Eats, just like me and you do. We're like trying to figure out what to do. And he's like, "I don't know, dude." He goes, "I'm thinking about getting a sandwich from Wawa." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Well, there's not many options. It's like 1 a.m. And I'm like, "All right." So we ordered sandwiches from Wawa, and after like 40 minutes, he's like, "Where is it?" And so then the guy's like driving, and it says, "Oh, so-and-so is picking up your order. Cool." And then it says he's leaving. So he's like, "All right, it's on his way to you." And we don't know what happened, but like, you know how if you do Uber Eats, it'll tell you like, "Oh, like now they're on their way," and you watch them make their way to you. This guy was leaving Tampa. But like on the Uber Eats thing, it's showing him as like he's on his way, but he's like, "Dude," and obviously Carney knows the area better because he lives down there. And he's like, "Dude, he's like going back to like Orlando." He's like, "He's not even coming here." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He's not. He's going the other direction. He's like leaving the city." He's like, "I want my Wawa sandwich."
Wait, did John order it on his phone?
Yeah.
Do you think he like put in his Orlando address and the dude was driving from Wawa to Orlando?
I never even thought of that.
Wow.
Dude,
Maybe
I
he
never
had
even
his home
thought.
address on there.
He probably did because John lives in Winter Park, which is next to Orlando.
Can you
But yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
he drove from Tampa to Orlando with Wawa for an Uber Eats order?
So then I ended up ordering
I don't
pizza, and it got there at like 2:30. And he would just. And I remember we didn't plan on staying in Tampa. It was we went out there for the night, and we thought we were gonna drive back, but then we were tired. And he's like, "I'm just gonna get us a room." I'm like, "You sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm not fucking driving." I'm like, "All right." So we didn't have any luggage with us. So I'm like, "All right." So I'm like, "Well, what do we do? Like, I'm just gonna sleep in my jeans." He's like, "They got bathrobes in the room. We'll just sleep in our bathrobes." And I'm like, "Well, at that point, I'm just gonna sleep
Just
in my
picture
underwear."
that, people. Picture John Carney
So-
and Matthew Tobacco just casually in their JW Marriott robes.
So he's like,
With no
well,
luggage,
he's like,
sleeping in
he's
the
like,
room.
just get comfortable and put on the robe. And I'm like, all right. And then so like we're waiting for this. Before we did the Uber Eats thing, he was like, because John has status at Marriott hotels and he gets to go to like the concierge lounges and all that. So he's like, hey, let's go find the concierge lounge. Maybe we can raid some snacks. And I'm like, all right. So we're just walking around the hotel, you know, just casually, no shoes on. Just go. We found the lounge. You go up there. It's closed. He's like, I can't believe this. He goes, it's closed. We can't even get in there. And he was all upset because he's like, the one in Miami, we just walked right in. He's like, it was open the whole time. Like, so then we went back to the room, and then that's when Uber Eats came up. It was an adventure for sure. There we were, in our room at 2:30 in the morning in bathrobes, just eating pizza. And he was like, dude, this pizza's actually not bad. For late night pizza.
when you're hungry at 2:30 in the morning, it will suddenly
Anything
taste
tastes good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Yeah.
So-
I'm trying to get to Florida the weekend after New Year's is my plan, but I'm gonna drive. So.
Well, it's an easier
So
drive
we'll
for you than us.
I can actually make it to Tampa in a day.
In a day?
Orlando's, yeah, I can make it to Tampa in a day. It's a long day, but Orlando's very easy. I can leave Orlando at like noon and get home at like 8. So it's but I'm gonna do Miami when I go. So
That'd be a good time.
sure.
I love going down there. It's always a treat to go. You know, we usually go down there at this point, you know, at least once a year. So it's always something to look forward to. It's always fun.
Yeah.
But you know, that's part of what we do. You know, we get to travel around. So,
Yep.
but
yep.
no, this was great. This was the
A lot
travel
of fun.
show.
Yeah, a lot of fun learning about. I mean, it was great you shared that. I'm glad you guys got to go. For sure. I mean, it's probably the first of many trips you'll be taking. So, you know, thanks for letting me share my trip as well. And I hope the audience, you know, got something out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. We like to share our experiences. You know, us and Coop. You know, like all of us on here. You know, we like to share our experiences. You know, because you know we do get to do a lot of these things, and
Yep.
we're really grateful for it. You know, we can see a lot of things, and that's why we're here. That's why we have the shows and stuff, so we can share that with you guys and teach you guys stuff and show you guys interesting things. So thanks to everyone who watched the show, and hopefully you got something out of it. I mean, it's always fun. It's always fun to talk about this. This was our traveling show. We talked all about travel.
Absolutely.
And we still managed to mention PCA's name at least once. And FDA and all that.
Never fails.
They always get mentioned.
They always get mentioned on it. Somehow it gets into every show, and people can't get enough of it.
I know. Well, this was great. We were long overdue for a show, but you know, the show speaks for itself.
The last one, but yep. I apologize for missing the last one, but I had to take care of myself. Yep.
No, that's okay. You know, you had your health concern, and it was. I mean, I know what happened. It was legitimate. It was definitely. We need to cancel the show.
For folks to know, it almost canceled my Mexico trip because I didn't know if I was gonna be able to go, but I was fine. So it was more of a false alarm. So
I was so worried for that 2 days, and then I'm like, Coop,
tell
me what's going on? You got to keep me updated. And he's like, I think I'm okay. I'm like, thank God.
I was in for observation, with the doctors. So that's what they put it. So yeah.
But that's gonna do it for our show this week for Spare Notes. Thank you everyone for watching on Facebook and YouTube. You can always like and subscribe on those platforms, as well as everyone who's listening along at home or on the road, wherever you may be, listening to your podcasts. Podbean, Apple, Google, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Always like and subscribe. We appreciate it. It helps us out. And thank you for supporting us. You can also visit smokintabacco.com and cigar-coop.com for more news and updates from the cigar industry. We'll be back in a couple of weeks where we'll close out the year. It'll be our last show of 2022. And it'll be a lot of fun. This week we have Matt Booth coming on the Smokin' Tobacco show, where we're gonna have. I know, I'm mentally.
We gotta
preparing
post
myself.
the links to that, but we are doing a cookie pairing.
I heard. You guys have been talking about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Matt has his cookies. He has them.
And then we're gonna choose some Room 101 cigars to smoke and pair with the cookies.
I think we're gonna smoke the 2021 Namakupis though. We
Nice.
talked a little bit about that. I think we're gonna smoke those on the show.
Yeah.
So something holiday special from Room 101 for a holiday episode, cookie pairing. It's not gonna be. I mean, it's still gonna be a Matt Booth show. It's gonna be, whatever that is. It's gonna be. But it's not gonna be more of an interview. It's just gonna be kind of us hanging out, eating cookies, and Matt telling you what his palate picks up, not with just his cigar, but with
his cookie.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll make it sexual. And if you've watched him on the show, you know how it's going to go. So I'm not going to tell you anything else because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But that's what we're up to Thursday.
Yeah.
Coop, I know that you had an interesting show with Charlie Minato a few nights ago. People should definitely check that show out.
Great interview with Charlie. Always generous with his time. Really good conversation. Definitely check that out. A lot of topics we hit Charlie with on, and he always steps up to the plate and answers that. Brian Matola is coming on. I have to reconfirm that for next Thursday, and then on Friday it all begins. The countdown. The countdown begins on Friday the 9th.
Well, I'm glad yours is starting early this year because I need.
I actually started later. I actually started a week later. Normally, I usually put it where that first. Where the number one cigar comes out the first Monday in January. It's going to be the second one. It was just a little. I didn't know if I could get it done early enough, and I did. I made some changes to things this year to go through it a little easier. And then the other thing I broke the news is we are not doing a Cigar Aficionado pregame show this year because Cigar Aficionado moved up the dates to they're doing their list really early this year on December 14th it starts.
Yeah.
No, December 12th. So it was way too early to compile that data. So we are passing on that this year. So
nice.
I think we've proven we can predict it pretty close. Maybe not get it exact, but we usually get the cigars that are on there. So, but to do that, we have to collect a lot of data from all the issues. It's a lot of work. So the plan was I would have worked on it in December, and they normally do it in January. I just couldn't do it. So
yeah. Well, it's that time of the year. It's exciting. Our stuff's going to be coming out towards the later part of the month. because we're still putting it all together.
It's a tough year.
It's a tough year. There's a lot of good competition on the.
Clear number one winner this year for me.
Ooh, see, we don't think so.
Well,
I have three.
Number one and the top three were very easy to do this year for me. They came in; it wasn't a question. One cigar moved up into the top three, but the other two were holding it. But yeah, it was the easiest year I've had in a long time. So that's what made it easy.
Yeah. I'm going to pick your brain after the show, as I always do. But, guys, that's going to do it for us this week with Spare Notes. Thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.